Welcome to the Origin K9 podcast, where we speak to authentic and inspiring voices from the working K9 world. Listen to this episode, subscribe to the podcast, follow us on social media, and go to originkn.com. Enjoy the show. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Origin K9 podcast. Today we've got our, you're about the fourth Canadian we've had on, second JTF.
We're taking over, man.
Second JDF 2-1. And we're actually recording over Josh's episode with this episode. So, Rod, Petrovic.
Oh, you wanted the better one.
Yeah.
So Jordan's best handler is what you want.
Canada's best handler. So, yeah, bro, thanks for coming on the potty, man. Welcome, dude.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
All good,
Love
man.
all you Australian guys, and mainly the girls.
Do you have a missus?
Yeah, but we won't tell her. She's upstairs.
Canadian?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sweet. I was like, I wonder if you got like an Aussie missus or something.
Oh, I wish.
Yeah. Hey.
Tried that when I was down there in like 2006. I went all up the East Coast, like did one of those Kentucky tours, Kentucky Freaky. And one of the best trips of my life.
Yeah.
Besides Thailand.
Dude, like the East Coast of Australia, man, because you got like, I don't know if you did Melbourne, but there's like Melbourne, Sydney, Gold Coast, up to like Townsville, and yeah, it's wild, man. Do you stop in
I went up, it was a bus tour that just was basically a bar hopping bus tour for 2 weeks, and then I went to Surfers Paradise for a week.
Yeah, that's right.
I just hung out on the beach. Yeah, it's awesome.
It's sick, bro. Hey, dude, I don't know if you've listened to many episodes or you probably just listened to Josh's one.
And Mike's. Yeah.
Oh, of course, yeah. Obviously we start with your childhood growing up and then like how that led you to going into the military, anything dog related, man. So like, bro, hit us with childhood in Canada.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, if you have like the slums in Australia, I'm what they call a South Oshawa shit rat. So I grew up in like a car building town. It was like Hell's Angels and drugs and like beating people up. So my options were pretty much like, you know, go to the army or become like a gang member. It's kind of weird that way, and it really for me could have gone both ways. I joined the army when I was 16, so I had like teenage parents raised by my grandparents. Didn't have a lot of money growing up, and so I moved out when I was 16, 17 years old, was living on my own. Went to trade school kind of first, joined the reserves. In Canada, you can join the army when you're 15 if your parents sign for you in the reserves. So I did the reserves for 2 years.
Jesus.
And then I went to the regular army. So I was infantry with it's called the 3rd Battalion Royal Canadian Regiment. And that was when our airborne unit disbanded, they gave each regiment, so the RCR, the Pickleys, and the Bandoos, each have an airborne company. And I went there. So I was in the airborne company in 3 RCR, and then I was in Recce Snipers. Basically, my whole adult youth was all military stuff. So I did my first tour when I was 18. Was over in Afghanistan. I couldn't go to Bosnia because my family's from Yugoslavia. I'm the first one born in Canada. And my grandfather was in the military there, and he was in what's called Tito's Special Guard. And if you know anything about the Yugoslavian conflict, the Serbs, they didn't really fuck around very much. So they would go out and do things to make people get along. And he was one of those dudes that made people do things. So they put me through originally to go to Bosnia. And then my security clearance wouldn't come back because of him. So I ended up going to Afghanistan, which was great. So that was 2006. To be honest, like we talked about last night, a great time to be there. Op Archer ROEs, lots going on, lots of good work. It wasn't, we Canadians had just moved, just previously down south to Kandahar. We were doing that big Op Madusha push into Panjway. It was as shitty as it was good. I ended up hurting my back on that tour. Stayed there like it was a 9-month tour. I think it made me who I am today. So I did that, went back to battalion for a bit, did selection for close protection, got into that, went and did some close protection stuff. So I was a bodyguard for the NATO Surgeon General. We were pretty lucky there, except for being led by the military police. I am not a military police, so I don't know how they are in Australia, but for the most part in Canada, I would say like 95% of them are cocksuckers that probably couldn't make it in the real police world, so they joined the military police, and then they just wanted to for infantry guys. So did that for a while. Came back, ended up going to JTF2, got into dog handling, did 2 tabs to Iraq, which was pretty good. And I think we were pretty fortunate. Canada's K9 program within the Special Forces is relatively new. It started in 2008. And for the Olympics, blah, 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 did that. Then they transitioned over to Afghanistan. They did some good things. Like our first handler, Paul, didn't necessarily get set up for success right away. Went on a course in the States, got a fully trained dog, came back and was like, make it work. Then we had a guy named Brad come along, and he completely changed our program, made it into what it was. He spent, I think, 11 years at the Hill, did amazing work, made the program one of the best in the world. I know, for me anyhow, I worked with the Australians every year, and we would go down there and help out on your guys' courses and do a bunch of stuff down there. We did a K9 concentration in the UK once, and I know the Canadians, the Aussies, and the Kiwis. We had some good times. So I ended up getting out in 2017, and I went to the police. I was a police dog trainer in a GTA police service, which was definitely a change in things. And you'll see some of the questions on there about transitioning from military to police, or how do you pick police dogs, because that's kind of my main focus now. I'm semi-retired. I still work part-time as a cop, but I only work 1 day a month. I have my military pension, but my main thing is training police dogs. So I do that a lot. Couple different police services across Canada, a couple different things. I have do some detection work, obviously. Yeah, everything. We're doing our main focus right now, and especially in the new year, will be tactical integration within the TAC team, because we don't have that in Canada. It's not like in the squadrons where it's super integrated. I know when I left, guys were getting K9 integration on their basic course. So you get a dog from basic assaulter course on, and then that's all they know. And probably when you first started, I don't know where K9 was when you got there, but it was very kind of seldomly used, and then we got better and better and better, and then it became indispensable in some places and not indispensable in others. And it was a lot of failing forward. I can tell you I did that, using dogs for aircraft. I think we took some stuff off you guys actually for doing aircraft. But I was just we're just going to try all this random shit, and we're going to take what works, and whatever doesn't work, we'll fucking just remember that we fucked that up and keep pushing ahead. So, yeah.
Bro, that's a hectic childhood, man. Fuck.
Anyone from Ontario that knows where Oshawa is, they'll say ugh, that guy shouldn't have made it out.
Yeah. So look, there's a heap to pick out of that, man. I want to wind back to just briefly touch on some of the childhood stuff leading into the military. So what was it called? Oshawa.
Yeah, Oshawa.
Oshawa, and that's not to be confused with Ottawa, right?
No, this is definitely not Ottawa. So it's closer to Toronto, so it's called the Greater Toronto Area. So it's just about maybe 40 minutes, half an hour east of Toronto. Big blue collar town. The biggest industry there at the time was GM, General Motors. They make cars and trucks there. And when the GM plant kind of shut down, there was nuclear stations and stuff like that there that were kind of the money, but you could see like poverty had kind of taken over and people were getting desperate. And like it was, you guys have Hell's Angels there. They're all over the world. Big Hell's Angels spot. There's 3 chapters there now, plus puppet clubs. And I know Army guys that got out and were just looking for something, that brotherhood again that you don't get anywhere else, and went there. But these guys are running drugs and women and all this other stuff. And if I didn't get into policing, I probably just would have been a biker.
Yeah, mate. Another mate of mine who's been on the show as well. He said I was either going to be a great cop or a great sergeant at arms of the Hell's Angels. So, I mean, with the type of personalities that do our type of jobs, right? There's the good and the bad, like there's the fucking, you've got that crazy drive and that internal desire to achieve and belong and whatever. And like, fuck man, you can find that, like you said, you can find that in the Hell's Angels, you can find it in the military with the cops. So, yeah. So what was,
there's definitely some similarities. And like, to be honest, I found that, when you think about policing, you think about it as, they call it paramilitary or something like that.
Yeah.
And that you're all going to be, good dudes together. It'll be kind of the same thing as maybe like the infantry or something like that. And don't get me wrong, there's some solid dudes and girls there for sure. However, it's not the same. There's a lot of cocksuckers. And I'm sure once you got out of, the squad, the SASR there, and met some people out in the real world, and you're like, oh yeah, like, some solid dudes. I would say most of the ones at the unit, 99% of them are super solid and would have your back during it. Me and Josh, like I was in Josh's wedding. We still, like I talked to him yesterday. Guys that I was overseas with, I flew out to Alberta, which is in Western Canada, to see another guy I was overseas with. And those are guys that you can trust. And, me and you had these conversations yesterday about, the Nameless 19, what's going on with you guys and how I can actually see some of that coming to Canada. Again, this guy today, this cop that's getting fucked over by SIU, and it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's a fucked up time. And I think it's also because partly we're not at war right now. So what do guys like me and you do that were, the best years of my life were spent doing fucking hood rat shit with my friends. So how do we chase that dragon even further? What do we do next? And sometimes when you can't get into the police, sometimes it is, the Hells Angels. Sometimes it is, gangs or something like that. I'm not condoning it, but I do understand it at some point.
Yeah. Like the, you achieve your own outcome, but you might just have a different modality. But I've got to address something first. I wasn't SASR. I was 2nd Commando Regiment. Similar kind of thing. We were just like the newer unit that was raised in the late 90s and then went through like a big transition through the Afghanistan years. So same but different. I hesitate to compare us to like Seesaw or something like that because we don't use the tier system here. We don't have like tier 1, tier 2. But we were more of a direct action sort of unit, whereas SASR was probably, and I hate butchering it like this. They give the sledgehammer.
Oh fuck! I don't mean to fuck you over and call you out now. All your buddies gonna be like, that Canadian cocksucker is over there.
The analogy was always like the sledgehammer and the scalpel sort of thing, but that's a butchered way of thinking about it. But that's anyway. Yeah. So I know that if I didn't address that, I've got a few mates over in Perth who would fucking would fucking slay me for that, and also my 2 Commando mates. But so it sounds like it was pretty rough growing up in Oshawa. What was the military component of that? Why was the military such a big option? Is that just very typical of poor areas?
So here in Canada, they'll pay for you to go to school. So for me, I wanted to be a mechanic. I was never really, the academic type, let's say. Came from like my sister, super smart. She's got like a master's in molecular biology or some shit like that. My mom, super smart. They were pretty good and they made something of themselves. But you ever seen the show Teenage Mom?
Yeah.
So my mom was a teenage mom to both me and my older sister. So she had 2 kids before she was 20, which in Canada is still pretty rare, especially in a shithole like Oshawa. But we managed to get out, and with the military, they would pay for your school. So I was like, okay. I got a scholarship to go to trade school as a mechanic, and I was like, oh, the military will pay for the rest of it. I'll just go in and I'll be a mechanic in the military. But I started the process in 2002, and they're like, oh, you know what? Do you like camping? I'm like, fuck yeah, I like camping. Um, you should join the infantry. I'm like, I can do push-ups like really, really well. So I ended up joining the infantry and never kind of looked back. And that's kind of how it all happened from there.
Yeah.
And like I went in, just did my basic and stuff. Had a good time, obviously, because I was good at it. Like it was. I think during that time we were just at the end of kind of the good days where the infantry was about drinking and fighting essentially, and I was good at that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much how it happened.
I was going to ask, like,
Not much.
given your the way, where you grew up and the sort of neighborhoods that you grew up in, you would have had somewhat of a propensity for violence, right? Getting in punch-ons and that type of stuff. So I imagine,
Oh yeah,
given the career later, like infantry, you went to the contracting sort of world, and then into JDF2 and the cops, like you must love that sort of
yeah,
stuff, right?
yeah. Like I'm very fortunate. I think I had some very good people surrounding me, and one of the best sayings I've ever heard is smart people surround themselves with people that are smarter than they are. And I got to train with some guys. I started doing jujitsu. I started doing boxing, then got into kickboxing, then got into like some MMA, jujitsu. I went to Thailand, so I trained at Fairtex for a little bit. Came back. The Hill actually has a really, really good unarmed combat program. It used to be led by Randy Turner and Casper. Really, really good dudes. Hensel Gracie brown belt. Solid dudes there. Like really, really good dudes. Train every day. We had octagon. We had all the stuff that you needed to succeed. They gave you there, and they would send you to Jens Pulver's combat submission wrestling, American Top Team. There was a ton of stuff there, and just really good dudes that you want to train with, and they want to make you better, and they're not there to cock you. And then when you get into the squadrons too, a funny story with me and Josh actually, as a dog handler. At the time, I think I was the only one in the squadron. So what I would do is essentially pick a det every week. And I'm like, listen, everything you do, I'm going to do with you with a dog. Like we are integrating this dog in. If you go to the range, I'm going to the range. If you do a med thing, I'm doing a med thing. If you do a radio class, I'm doing a radio class. Like if you're doing CQB, I'm doing CQB. If you're going to the fight room, I'm going to the fight room. And his det ended up going to the fight room. And I used to go just like in the Army, you work out twice a day. So I would go there in the mornings and train jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. And I had gone to Thailand in 2000, I think it was 2012, to take like a pro fight there. And I was okay. Like it wasn't anything like I'm not an MMA star. But I like doing it. And so Josh gets in. I think he's relatively new at the time. To the unit, and he's like, okay, I'm going to show you some stuff, and like we're in our octagon in our cage, and he's like doing some stuff, and like I don't really say anything, like I don't care if I get beat up, I get beat up. So
Is he doing these ones?
Yeah, that's definitely Josh.
I feel like Josh is just going to get fucking slammed during this whole podcast.
Oh, I can't wait for this. He said to tell you to go fuck yourself, and I'm like, are you kidding me? We're just going to razz on you for a couple hours. So fucking Canuck Cup. Big shout out to Canuck Cup. Yeah, Lauren running the business. Yeah, so he's in there like doing some stuff, and Casper comes up, one of like the trainers there, really, really good kickboxer, Muay Thai guy. And he looks at Josh, he goes, what the fuck are you doing? And he looks at me, he's like, don't fucking hurt him too bad. And then Josh is like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I went to Thailand to fight pro, whatever. Yeah, so that was my funny story. And everyone's just like, "Fuck." Yeah, man, like you don't have to say it. You just go out and do it, and then I don't know. That's what you do.
Do you and Josh end up knuckling on in the ring, like even in a training sense?
Oh yeah, yeah,
You knock his head off?
yeah. So before Randy, so Randy Turner, he's got direct action thing. A little plug for him there. Super solid guy. He was the Rect MMA bantamweight champion. So he was trying to get into the UFC. He was like, had the gold belt and everything. Super solid guy. You wouldn't think to talk to him that he's like this hardcore dude that will fucking murder you. But he is. He's legit. And so I got back from Thailand, was feeling fucking awesome. Everything was like nice. Oh, way. And Randy was shark tanking. So he got a new guy every round into the cage. And I thought to myself, okay, like I probably I would fight at 170, and Randy I think was fighting at maybe 135. So to put that in difference, I weigh like 200 pounds now, and I think at the time I was 185, and Randy is like 135, and so I'm like, I got like a 6-inch reach advantage on him. I'm probably like 6 inches taller than him, and like probably 50 pounds heavier. And so we're dicking around and going, and like, you don't want to hurt him before the fight. And I kept faking this kick and faking this kick and faking it. He's like, fucking throw it. And I faked it and threw a switch kick and took him down. And I was like, I took down the champ. That was the fucking worst thing I could have done. So he gets up, and like, I'm just like, I'm pretty sure I didn't say "oh no" out loud, but I was definitely thinking it, because he gets up and just like boom, boom, and then throws a head kick, and all I saw was like the lights starting to come in, and I'm like, oh no, and I just started throwing punches and backing up towards the cage, and so I obviously didn't say anything, like a fucking real tough guy. And then we get going out later, and I think I was like the dog handler for a course or something, and I was fucked. Like I got out of there, and I'm like, I am concussed as shit. And I ended up having to go to the hospital. And so I go to the hospital, and like Dwyer Hill is on the outskirts of Ottawa, so like southwest of Ottawa, like farming community. I go to this hospital, and I look like a fucking heathen. So like I got a big beard, I had long hair at the time, and I was wearing like a Carhartt like farm jacket essentially. And I go in, and I'm like, yeah, I got kicked in the head this morning, and I think I got a concussion. And they're like, horse or cow? Horse or cow? What kicked you in the head, a horse or a cow? I was like, it was a fucking man.
How big was the? You're like, hey, he's about this big.
Yeah, like I don't know, 5'5".
Yeah, but he was a solid 5'5", one of those big 5'5s.
Oh yeah, like a 6'5".
Yeah, nice man.
But yeah, I had like, and it was funny. I still talk to Randy a little bit now, and he's like, man, I'm so sorry we didn't know about the traumatic brain injury stuff at the time, because we sparred pretty hard back then too. And he's like, I'm like, dude, those were honestly the best days of my life. And like, I talk to people now, and we had a guy from the unit commit suicide last year, I guess. And it was pretty hard. I was overseas with him, like back in the day, young fella, young family, really, really, really smart, mentally tough dude, really good guy. Pete was, when I say he was the best of us, he honestly was the best of us. And, we did a lot of dumb shit too when we were in our 20s, and, down at Blackwater, drinking in bars, doing fucking, like, Pete's the kind of guy, I'm pretty sure he did a shot of tequila where it was like, snort the salt, squirt the lemon in your eye, and like, I don't know, fucking put the tequila up your ass or something. But
Yeah.
it was
Ironically, it's called a suicide shot, I think.
yeah. Strange, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, and like, yeah, we had some solid dudes there.
Shit. Because, man, I think I remember I was talking to Josh, mate, it wasn't too long after the podcast, and he mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think when we did the podcast, he'd only like just got out. And then I think it was like a couple of months later or something that, so Pete, that guy, he ended up committing suicide. So, and was that TBI related, was it?
It's hard to say, man. Like, when you think about, how many breaches were you standing next to in your whole career? like how many wall charges, how many door charges, how many IDCs, like, and I don't know about you, but when I joined, we were fucking dumb, man. We were doing like shotguns and machine guns with no hearing protection. You know, we're throwing fucking grenades with like maybe little foamies in, maybe like your fucking fingers in your ears. I remember like I fucked up my personal dog. I brought him in to do like capping stuff for detection, and our breacher compound was right outside, and I didn't realize they were doing wall charges on like cinder block walls.
Oh,
So like a pretty significant charge for a dog that's never been exposed, and like my personal like dog that was a drug dog, but like nothing, you know. And fuck, the wall charge goes off, and he's just like, "What the fuck?" Yeah, like how many times have we just stood there and done that?
yeah.
So yeah, Duff, you know, was close protection. He was seesaw, and then he went to the hill. Solid dude, super smart, university educated, and like never seen that guy sweat a day in his life. Like me and him were overseas together, no problem with anything. Like, you want to fight? Okay, yeah, we'll fight. Like, so like I couldn't even tell you what happened, man.
Yeah. Yeah, RIP Josh, man. Fucking Josh. Pete.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck, dude.
Well, Josh is sexy.
See you, Josh. Yeah. All right, man. Hey, dude, I want to wind back, if that's all right, man. Back to
Yeah,
your
man.
first tour. So your infantry tour to Afghanistan. That was 2006, you said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mate. Can you?
Yeah, it was a good time. Got to go out through Kandahar a bunch, Patrol Base Wilson and Panjway a little bit there, and like, yeah, like it was eye opening, definitely. Not something that, like, in Canada, essentially when we got into the army, and I'm probably sure it was the same way when you first got in, we were still doing fucking trench warfare, man. Like, that was our basic, was like, yeah, sitting in a trench. And now we're in urban areas, and in Canada, we were fucked when we first got there. We had the old Iltises, which were soft skin vehicles. Like, we didn't even have a fucking roof on them. We didn't really have armored vehicles. And then we called them Nyalas and Mambas, like remote gun systems. And our tanks we had sold, like our helicopters we had sold, like the Chinooks we had sold, and they had to lease them back from like the Dutch or something like that.
Oh, really?
They sold them to the Dutch. Yeah. So we had fucking nothing, man. We had like Bell Huey helicopters that couldn't fly high enough to get over the mountains. So we had no air cover besides what the Americans gave to us. Yeah, man, it was definitely a different time. I was a light machine gunner. So like, I don't know. I think that's the best position you can get in the infantry. Yeah, like it was a little bit fucked up. We lost a lot of Canadians during Aunt Medusa. That was the push into Panjway, and it was like the Americans, us, the Brits, and I think some of the Dutch or Germans.
Dutch were doing a fair bit back then too. I'm pretty sure they were getting into heaps, like up in the Chora Valley, pushing up north and out of the TK Pole and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it was for Canadians anyhow. It was a good taste of kind of things to come, and hardened up a lot of dudes, which is good. And I think that some people's experience makes them better, and then that's all they want to do, which is a problem. And some experiences, you know, I'm not going to say defeat people or crumble them, but definitely have a large impact where they can't do anything after that. But I think both have their issues. Like, the fact is, you know, people think I'm nuts when they're like, why do you want to keep going back there? I'm like, as much as it sucks, you're never going to be almost as happy as you are, and also as pissed off as you are over there, depending on where you are, like depending on what you're doing. On my second tour, we had a lot of freedom of movement. So you see that picture of me in the dress shirt?
Yes.
That I sent you last night? Yeah, I was in the Army.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like I said, we had we had our own vehicles. We dressed however we wanted, and we just went and looked for work sometimes.
Yeah.
But when you say that kind of stuff, and people are like, what the fuck does that mean? And we can't actually talk about it. And like, the Nameless 19 are like, I took a big interest in that. And, you know, what happened with Dallas and what happens with some of the other guys that are now going on podcasts and talking about it, which, you know, we didn't really have these platforms before. Those guys are getting fucked over. Like, you know, look what Dallas goes on Sean Ryan, and whether you agree with what he said or don't agree with what he said, you know, take the mask fucking COVID shit out of it. You know, for the most part, everyone thinks a lot of that shit was dumb. But you don't know what you don't know, whatever. I can tell you, so at the time when COVID happened, I was a cop, and they actually put me in a COVID enforcement unit. So I took over for a staff sergeant, and I was supposed to enforce these fucking rules that changed every fucking day. And I remember having to report to a civilian director, and I told her, I was like, I don't care if my guys lay any fucking tickets. Like, the goal is compliance and the goal is safety. And the fact is, like, we need an end state, and then we figure out how to get to that end state from there. And the end state is always in policing is, you know, compliance. No crimes are committed. They fuck people over for that. Like, you've seen in the news, Canada right now under this prime minister it's turned into like, we can't get fucking news on social media anymore. You can't access news on Instagram or Facebook or I don't know what the other ones are. You can't go on it. You can't send a link on it. You can't do anything. Like, how fucked up is that? Are we in Russia?
Because they're so hyper vigilant around like misinformation and I've forgotten the other fucking term that they use, but yeah, they don't want fact checking and all that type of stuff. Is that the sort of feel? Because I know that Trudeau guy came from that. It's the new world leaders or the young leaders or some shit like that. Yeah.
Well, they say it's because Google and Meta aren't paying their fair, like they're not paying money to these news outlets to, I don't know, fucking show their shit. But the fact is, social media is such a big platform now, and I don't mean to get off this because everyone's like, what the fuck is this K9 fucking podcast going on about talking about goddamn social media? Which I'm lucky I could fucking log on to the laptop, so, you know, that's a bonus. But, yeah, essentially they're saying that Google needs to pay because they're advertising for, you know, CBC or whatever it is, all these different news places, and they want money from them. They're just like, no, we're doing you a solid by advertising for free for you. You just get to put your shit on here. So it's a little bit fucked up, man. Like, freedom of speech, you saw what happened with Dallas. And even, you know, I got a big fucking mouth. Anyone will tell you. I probably, like, my mouth gets me. I've been told once by someone I really respect that fucking really, really good dog handler, big fucking mouth. 100% true. Like, but I also believe that if you're fucking dumb, I should fucking tell you you're dumb. And if you're fucked up, I should tell you you're fucked up. But the same thing goes for me. If I'm fucked up, I need to know I'm fucked up. And this goes into kind of like, I don't know when you went through your dog handler course, but if I fuck something up, they told me. Now everyone's like fucking kid gloves and you can't talk to people like that. Like, coming from the military, like if someone fucks up, you make fun of them. Like that's how whether it's just laughing at someone, like someone drops a mag and you're just like, ha, fuck, 25, begin. I did that in policing. And they're like, this guy was shooting, it's like, fucking, mag falls out. And I'm like, ha, look at you. And the guy was good. He's just like, oh yeah, I fucked up. And the staff is like, whoa, you can't fucking do that, man. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, you can't like make fun of them for fucking up. And I'm like, oh really? Well, this is gonna work out well for any of you.
I feel like Homer Simpson, yeah, like man. The guy like shuffles his papers and he drops it. He's like, yeah, look at all of that joke. You're the only one laughing.
Fuck, man. I took some girl's gun away during like CQB, and I told her she had a finger gun now, and they're like, whoa, you can't fucking do that. And I'm like, so what happened was, comes out into the hallway, and the staff are wearing like orange reflective vests. You know what I mean? Like you should be able to fucking not shoot those dudes. They're using sim guns, blah, blah, blah. She comes out in the hallway and fucking peppers 2 of the staff. Not 1, but 2, like mag dumps into them.
Nice.
And I'm standing there like, what the fuck was that? So I walk into the room and I'm like, okay, who did that? Okay, tell me what happened. And she's like, well, I couldn't fucking see anything. So I just saw 2 people. So I pumped in them. I came back in. I did my job. Like, so ground accountability, knowing your target and what's beyond it, fucking right out the window. And she's like, I'm like, give me your gun. And she's like, huh? I'm like, give me your gun. So she gives me your gun. I'm like, you get a fucking finger gun now. Fuck off. And they're like, whoa. I'm like, these are people that are going to be fucking police officers. Like, you're going to be fighting a fucking naked guy covered in shit on the street in like 2 weeks. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's something I'm glad I could have avoided. Like I applied for the cops after I left the military, didn't get in because I was honest about some stuff in my career. And mate, I reckon it was the best thing that ever happened to me, man. Like because I see all that shit and I hear the stories from mates of mine, and I'm just like, man, I don't think I'd be able to handle that. I would have gotten so much trouble in the cops, so much trouble.
yeah.
Not because I'm like the hardest cunt ever, and I would have fucking been beasting people, but
No.
I wouldn't have been able to cope with that type of bullshit.
Yeah. And you would do stuff that makes sense. Like, they used to tell us, if you can explain it and it makes sense, we should at least try it. If you do that in policing, and like there's stuff that I brought in that I was like, this is why we should do this. And they're like, good point, but no. I'm like, okay, why? And I believe in asking why and not being a cocksucker, like, why? But like, legitimately, you should know why you do things. And it's the same thing in the dog world. Like, every time I teach a class, no matter what it is, I say, I want you to ask why because I want you to understand it. Too many people become robots, do this way, and they don't understand why, and then they can't do it themselves. So when I teach dog stuff to anyone, whether it's a pet or a police dog, I want them to understand the totality of it and everything that goes into it to get that end result so that they understand it and they can replicate it themselves, because that's how I was trained. We were trained almost to be future trainers. Like, we got 2 dogs each when we started, and you went through and the dogs were at the opposite end of the spectrum. But our trainer, Brad and Steve, and like all the other awesome people that we had training with us, Cliff, everyone, Hags, blah, blah, blah. They would, if you asked, they would explain it to you and it made sense. So you're like, fuck, I can get behind that. And then you get into some policing bullshit and they're like, do this. Why? Well, it's just what we do. Well, it's not a good enough answer.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, you can't fucking say that to me. Well, I just fucking did. So.
Yeah, it sounds like you and I probably would have got in some similar trouble in our careers. Dude, sorry, I want to go back a little bit. To
sorry.
No, it's all right, man. This is good. It's just a conversation, man. Like,
Yeah.
your first and second tour of Afghanistan, both infantry trips, right?
1 infantry, 1 close protection.
Sorry, close protection. That was still in the military. What sort of stuff was going on in those trips at that time? So you see, you had those big operations. Were you guys getting in big gunfights?
Yeah.
Was it a lot of IEDs?
Yeah, a lot of IEDs. Definitely on the first one, a lot of IEDs down Highway 1 going towards Panjwai, because that was like the last Taliban stronghold. Second tour, same kind of thing. Obviously, like guerrilla warfare that was going on, but in 2006, they were really trying to hold on. Like, they had fucking trenches dug. They had anti-tank ditches. When you talk about, I was mainly up in Kabul on the second one, and we flew out of there. So I was out of ISAF HQ with the NATO Surgeon General, and she would just fly all over the country. So she was in charge of all medical assets in Afghanistan, and I was just her bodyguard. But having a little female general, you know how the Afghans are. Sometimes they don't quite show the same amount of respect. And like, again, sometimes you have to do fucking mean shit to get your point across. There was times when you do have to grab people by the throat and be like, well, you're not going to talk to her like that, or you get me. Like, I'm 6'1" and I'm like 200 pounds. I can have my way with people if I really, really want to, for the most part. Yeah, and then it was the other part of it, just like we kind of talked about before, was you get people that have that drive that want to go out and do shit, um, and that might not be within your aspect or mission at the time. However, um, we need certain people, and like, I don't want to go to fucking jail for being on a podcast, but sometimes it's savagery that wins war, and people don't want to hear that. Like, the fact is, people want the feel good stories in the army. I don't know that you fucking see in the movies, but the fact is, we're out there to stack bodies. Like, we're not okay. The 3-block war where you're fighting and then you're fucking, I don't know, humping and rebuilding and then fucking a goat somewhere in there. At my level, we're just there to fucking kill bad guys, and you want to do it so that no one else ever wants to do that again. Look at what's going on with Israel right now. Israel, I don't fucking blame them, man. I don't know where you stand on it, whatever, but when they said this will never happen again because we are going to butt fuck them so bad, I 100% agree with that, man. Like, if you get attacked like they did, and they're like, man, we gave you a fucking bunch of chances. Now we are going to, like, it's just like butt sex. It is going to happen, so just fucking get ready. Yeah, man, it's like the savagery that people don't want to talk about is what wins wars. Like, it's a fucking true story, man.
Yeah. And like I sort of said last night when we were kind of talking about this, I think people like the special forces thing. They like to go, oh, we had this special forces guy, some officer. We talked about leadership and resilience or whatever, and then we did a fucking special forces boot camp over the weekend, and people love that stuff, like the Navy SEAL, the Hell Week stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't think they like to know why you get issued a dagger, or why you get taught to fucking sneak up on a sentry, or just those sort of things that people are just like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a bit yucky.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, it is a bit yucky.
Yeah, like I can tell you the Philippines thing. Like, when I got my brief for the jungle, and it was essentially everything kills you, and you have to really think about it. Then, like, what kind of fucking psychopath is like, okay, you can't drink the water, your GPSs aren't going to work, like, you have to sleep off the ground because there's snakes and fucking alligators and leopards or fucking whatever else. Like, it just seemed like it was a half an hour of everything will kill you. Good luck. Are you good to go? Of course. Like, I'm much worse than anything that's in there. Like, think about the mindset that you have to go into that. Not only are you fighting, like, the jungle and the elements, you're going to kill people that have your people. Like, that is the goal. And remember that, especially in the special forces, it's like 25 dudes, maybe. Like, 25, 30 dudes going against how many? What's the mindset that you have to have? And, like, we talk about the winning mindset, and, like, we had books to read at the Hill. And it definitely is a mindset. And I'm sure it's the same way with you guys. Like, you have to have that mindset that you're going to be really good. Why do we have unlimited ammo? Why do we shoot all the time? Why do we do CQB all the time? Why do we, like, train dog stuff all the time? Like, it's to make you the most proficient killing weapon possible, and to give you that confidence that, yes, I am going to rip someone's heart out. But no one wants to hear that.
Yeah.
And that's the true story.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And like, mate, even talking about it on the podcast, like, there are people that'll be like, because people get their nose out of joint when you talk about some of the ugly parts of the job. But have you always had that mindset? Like, was that you were talking about, like, people maturing and growing in those early two tours of Afghanistan? Was that where you developed
I
that
definitely
mindset?
I developed that mindset. But I also think it's almost like I don't know if it's a safety net to be like, you know what, if bad things are going to be happening, I'm going to be a bad man too. Like, you know what I mean? It's sometimes when they talk about, the sheeps and the fucking
The
wolves
sheepdog,
and whatever,
yeah,
the
yeah.
sheepdog and whatever, but sometimes you just need a fucking big bad wolf to come and fucking kill everyone. And that's the facts of life. Like, yeah, you want them. I think Brad said it once. He's like, you're not psycho. You're fuck, what did he say? I don't know. Essentially, like we are just on the edge that we're not going to kill good people, but we'll definitely kill a bunch of bad people. And the fact is, some people don't like that, and people's propensity for violence these days. Like, think about how many people have actually been in a fight, generationally now. Like, how many people, if you're like, okay, let's go, and you punch them in the face, how many people would just crumble? Especially this generation. It's fucking embarrassing. Like, I don't know who's going to fight these new wars, and I look at some of the new cops, and I'm just like, I remember when I got hired, and it was kind of like an off-the-record part of the interview, and the guy that I'm still friends with now, he's like, you ever been punched in the face? I'm like, all these teeth are fake. Like, yes. And again, I grew up in a rough, so like, I fought like 4 bouncers, 6 bouncers at one bar. I didn't win, but like, I had my ear ripped off, I had my teeth punched out.
Shit.
Oh yeah, like, it was. That's what growing up where I was. But does it make you better for later on? Like, Steph, my fiance, says all the time, she's like how did you survive in the military with such a big mouth? And like, you learn to fight really, really well, or you get beat up a lot. So I just learned to fight really well.
I like that, man. And is that so? Did you find that you were ever at odds with the military? Because you know what it's like. The military it's a big machine. It's a big business. It's a bureaucracy essentially. Even the people at the top of the military are a bit like, oh, that's a bit yucky. Did you find yourself at odds with that sort of bureaucratic business mentality?
100%. When I got fucked over by the military police, like I said. They tried to like take away my medals and stuff too at one point.
Really?
Yeah. It was fucked up. And like did I do some fucked up shit?
Campaign medals, or you got?
Yeah. Did I do some fucked up shit? Yeah. Did it make sense to me at the time? Yeah. Does it still make sense to me? Yeah. Would I do it again? Yeah. However, when you look at people that come from like an office atmosphere and then try and go and like do operations, and it's like, whoa, this isn't in the fucking playbook, and this isn't a Dwyer Hill guy by any means, is another cocksucker MP guy, and he just didn't understand the reality. So when I put a gun in someone's face, like, that needs to happen. And there was one time I got surrounded, and like, so I was dressed like that picture I sent you. I looked like a fucking dude. Sometimes I looked like a Haji. I had brought a dude out with me that had never been outside the wire. And I'm like, we're just doing a quick run. No big deal. We had, unmarked Toyota Land Cruisers all Haji'd up. And we get surrounded by the Afghan National Police. And I'm like, well, this ain't good. They got like dishkas pointed at us. We don't look like army dudes. Well, I don't look like an army dude. And they're like, they wanted to take our vehicle. And like 2 weeks prior, I think, they had just, the SAS had done a hostage rescue on someone in the area, and the fucking AMP came and fucking took all their vehicles and took the fucking hostage back.
Shit.
And I'm like, the fuck if that's happening. So, I don't know your experience there, but in their culture, if you show a little bit of weakness, like, they will fucking pounce all over you. Like, if you start to play down to them. So I didn't. And I was like, listen, if I'm going to go, I'm going to take your fucking legs with me, because we had breaching shotguns in the car, and I had one in the side of the door. But yeah, we ended up like ramming another vehicle, like ramming an A&A vehicle, and they eventually let us go because they were like, yeah, we want your car. No, you're not getting the fucking car. Okay, we want $5. Okay, you're not getting $5 fucking either. I can shoot you in the leg and you can fuck off. But that's how it was. And like, when you think about that, the guy sitting next to me, never been outside the wire, never been exposed to that level of, well, we might die, but this guy's fucking coming with me. And not backing down when the odds are against you. Like, 3 dishkas are going to fucking rip through a level 5 Toyota Land Cruiser in like 3-4 rounds. Like, it is not going to last long. But that's what gets you out of there. And that propensity for violence is widely accepted in the infantry, and then you go outside the infantry to something that might be led by the MPs or headed up by them, and they're like, whoa, this isn't in the criminal code. I'm like, listen, nerd, this is how this is going to go.
So this is the
and like, it was
CPP
funny
stuff.
going back from there. I'm like, I was a good soldier in battalion. I was in recce snipers when I left and went to the hill. Like, in our infantry battalions, the parachute company is supposed to be like the best of the companies, and then you get into recce snipers, which is the best in the unit. Like, I was there, but yet when I did that, the officers didn't quite like me very much, because I would tell them if they're fucked up, like, you're a piece of shit, you're fucked up, but I could back it up. Like, you know, I was as proficient at a lot of the things that I did, and I like to fight people, so it worked out well for me.
Yeah. And is this around the same time you left the military? Because you said infantry, and the second trip was, excuse the acronyms, it was a CPP class?
Close protection. No, that was in the military still.
Yeah.
But we went down and were trained at Blackwater. So we would go down there and do all our training and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure we're not supposed to say that, but fuck them. Yeah, so we would go down there and do that, and then deploy overseas and do that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. So, because you ended up getting out, right? And then you went to Blackwater, is that correct?
No, I was in while I was at Blackwater.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I did do some other contracting with another company on the side, but it was super fucked up. And contracting back in like the 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010 days. Remember when everyone started up a contracting company, and because they were throwing out so much money?
It's so lucrative. Yeah.
$1,000 a day, like big money back then. And now it's like, I had someone ask me to go to Ukraine when it first started back up, and I'm like, $2,000 a day. Like, we're not fighting. We're fighting a near peer force. Like,
yeah.
If we're gonna go, we're gonna make some money. Like Saddam Gold, Three Kings style. So, but you know, you get some people that don't want to pay that after. But.
Yeah. And how many, as a CP dude, how many other trips did you do with them?
Just one other one after that. They didn't really like my attitude.
Okay. All right.
I had no, like, the funny thing is, like, I never had any issues anywhere else but there. And all my bosses that I worked for, like, I worked for a 2-star Canadian or a 2-leaf Canadian general, and then a 1-leaf Canadian general. And they all love me. But the higher ups, when you call them out, they don't like it. And when they can't back it up, that's starts becoming problems for you.
Yeah, it can definitely be. Like, I probably run into trouble in different kind of ways for slightly different reasons, but it can be hard to find yourself aligned with some of the people you work with. I mean, in Chukwamata, it was no drama for me. Like, I still got in trouble for some of my extracurricular activities, but that was a great place for me to be, because I was just like, oh man, these guys are doing and saying the things that I've been thinking for years, and I'm finally fucking here. But then before that, oh, fuck man, it was so hard to fit in. I mean, even in the unit, it was hard to fit in some ways. But so what time was your? Oh fuck, I just cramped my hammy. When was? I'm too
excited. You need more Jack Daniels. That's your problem.
I'm so excited that
so that
I'm
was
cramping
like 2010,
muscles.
and at that time I had like broken my neck and lost use of my arm for like 2 years. So they were trying to move me out, and I had hurt my back on my first tour. So I had like pretty bad scoliosis. I couldn't, like, my arm's pretty fucked up now, so it doesn't go much higher than that. They were trying to move me out, and I was like, no, I was determined to come back. So I spent like 2 years in rehab, and got pretty much better. Did some experimental injections into my shoulder, which, hindsight being what it is, was probably pretty dumb, but it worked for me at the time. And then I went to the Hill, and that was like my dream job. Like, for me, being a dog handler in the Special Forces is the best job you can ever have.
Yeah.
Like, it gets no better there. And again, like I said, I never had any real issues there. Like, I had a great time at the Hill. It was perfect for me. It was, if I could have stayed there for my whole life and injuries not started piling up, I would have stayed. I would stay there now. And like when you look at hindsight, being at the time, I was like, I went on my advanced parachuting course. I got hurt on that, lost use of my other arm. And it was like the day I got back from that, my sergeant major's like, okay, can you go to Iraq this week? I'm like, fuck yeah. Like my arm still doesn't work. Like, my shoulder wouldn't go up. But I'm like, yeah, it'll like, by then it'll be fine. Like, why do we do dumb shit like that?
Raise
like,
your shield.
Yeah, your arm doesn't work. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, it'll be fine. And one of my like favorite letters is from a doctor at the Hill who's like, yeah, member was on his APC, had a brachial plexus or something like that, and subsequently deployed to Iraq a week later. Fuck yeah, like that is.
Yeah, that's good, but that's what makes you excel at what you do, right? Probably excel in dogs and excel in the fucking cops, but maybe fucking chaotic for your personal life too. At least that's been my experience.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
like I put the job before everything else. 100%. And like I lost relationships over it, but I loved it so much. Like I love the guys I was working with. I love the squadron I was in. I just wanted to be the best. And someone said, no matter what you're doing, whether it's fucking mopping the floors or being a dog handler, be the best at whatever it is you're doing. And I tried to bring that into policing as well. And they don't quite have the same mindset, but I love being around guys that if there was a better pistol shooter than me, they would come up and they would help me be a better pistol shooter. Like the guys around you brought you up, and it was a constant pushing and pushing and pushing. I found to be better and better and better. And like, whether it's working out or shooting or doing whatever, or dog work, I think there should be like, people should almost be ranked in where they are. Like, are you really good? Yeah. Okay. Fuck. I want to learn from you. We had that there, and everyone was so willing to give out their knowledge. It wasn't this, fuck, okay, I have this little niche specialty. I'm going to hold on to it so that no one else can do it. And I kind of see that in policing, where people are like fucking backstabbing, and God, like, holy fuck, they're not trying to make everyone better as a whole to bring everyone up. And I know that sounds kind of preachy, but holy fuck, man, like, when you get into a world like policing or military or whatever it is, any of these neat things, like, you want the guy next to you to be the best they can possibly be, I think.
Yeah, mate, and at least in my experience, I think a lot of that stuff comes from a place of insecurity, man. Whether it's to cover up incompetence or it's ego driven. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been guilty of probably doing some things like that in the past as well, and it took me failing to realize that, oh fuck, maybe that win-lose mindset, that zero-sum game's not the way to play it. Yeah. So what about
100%.
After you'd done your CP stuff and you're all injured and you'd just done your rehab? What's the JDF2, not like the selection process, but do they put out and go, hey guys, we've got a selection course coming up, or do you just go?
Every year, so it's at the same time every year. It's they're putting it out right now, and they're pretty good now. Like, they have the social media. I don't know if you've ever heard of Devin Laratte, like the world champion arm wrestler guy. Devin is an assaulter at the Hill, or I don't know where he's at now, if he's still in the reserve. But he was like in recruiting for a while, and they do a great job of going around and recruiting everyone. Some people in the military, to be honest, like that dog lady from Montreal. In the beginning, K9 wasn't for public like knowledge or whatever, so there was no pictures of dog handlers. We didn't acknowledge that we had it. Like, we didn't acknowledge that we had that asset. Now I think there's fucking pictures out of everyone, or Pascal's still out there in his hero shot.
Who's that?
Yeah, so another dog, one of the original dog handlers. There's like one iconic JTF2 kind of picture that made the news somehow. And they blur out the guy's face and the dog's face, which is kind of funny. And that was a guy that was the IC while I was there. Solid dude. Some people didn't like him because he would tell you if you were fucked up. He told me I was fucked up a bunch too, but he's a solid dude. Yeah, so they put his I don't know how it got out, but it did.
What was the photo? Was it him in Afghanistan?
It's like a dude with like a Mitch helmet on, and the dog just sitting there. He's got like a big beard, kind of like in the fucking sun and everything. It's a good picture, actually. I can't lie.
Oh, okay.
He's fat now. Pretty fat still.
You'll have to send it to me, man. I don't think I've seen that photo, because I've definitely seen a photo of some old, not old, but like some JDF2 guy. I would have been like, fuck, man, I don't know, like mid to late 2000s kind of thing in that
Yeah,
old
yeah,
like.
yeah. That would. There's only one. There's only one picture out there, so that would be it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, man. Oh, mate,
Yeah,
send me that photo.
yeah. I'll find it and send it to you.
Yeah, sweet. All right,
Yeah,
so
but that's like the iconic one. And there was like some, like I'm sure it's the same thing in the commando. Like we had kind of a French debt and English debt thing going on in the K9 unit because at the time we really didn't have enough handlers to go around all the squadrons, so they would kind of like shuffle us around a little bit. And there was like 3 French guys and 3 English guys, and we got along. Like, don't get me wrong, we got along well enough, but definitely there was a divide there. So they called it the French debt and English debt, and never the two shall meet. So, yeah, but yeah, we had a pretty good time.
yeah, right. So what about when you were like applying for JDF2, and I know that you guys hold that selection course pretty close to your chest. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what can you say about it, and then the process of getting into the
I ain't
unit?
saying shit. Yeah, like I actually want to go back there, so I'm not going to say anything. I just want to be a dog trainer, man. Like dogs is a little bit different. I don't even know what's going on there now. They have what's called level 2 dog handlers, and they're usually guys that have failed selection, and then they bring them on. It's a real, I don't even know how it is now. It used to be like a mix of assaulters and level 2s, and then it was all level 2s for a bit. And then I don't even know where it's at now, to be honest. I've been out a few years, so yeah, it's different.
Okay, man, I get it. All right. So,
Yeah.
so we'll fast forward through the like selection training sort of part.
Yeah.
What year was this, by the way?
2012.
2012. So what was the reception like
Yeah.
getting into JTF2 as a new assaulter?
So I was just a dog handler. It was like,
Oh, so you went straight into dog handling.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. Because for us, it was like
Yeah.
you got to do your time as an assaulter first, then it's a specialist course, which you do later.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what ended up happening. And then it like ebbed and flowed. So, like I failed selection straight up. And then they would take on some guys that failed selection or didn't get picked up. And they would move them into the K9 cell, depending on what you were doing. And then it got a little bit weird because the problem is you would end up doing everything that everyone else was, but you weren't as qualified.
Gotcha.
So we got to an issue where it was like, well, I'm doing CQB now because I'm the only one left. And so I stayed with 3 Squadron, and we had an issue in the early days of getting in there where K9 wasn't really accepted. And what I mean by accepted was it wasn't like they didn't want us all the time.
Yeah.
And in those early days when it's new and you get some of the older guys are like, yeah, we'll just clear this room. Like, no, send the dog first. We kind of had an experience. Well, the Americans had an experience where what happened was they went to go take this compound, thought it was a soft target, went to go hit it, and they lost a bunch of dudes. And the one thing that came back from the AAR was if we had had a dog, we would have lost less dudes. So then they like surged K9 into Afghanistan and more so Iraq. But the problem was our government didn't support combat operations in Iraq. And this is kind of where the Dallas thing comes in when they're like, those guys took that shot. Those 2 sniper teams took that shot. It came back to our parliament and they're like, hey, we're not doing combat operations. So why are our guys taking this shot? and then that's where like some of the other stuff we talked about gets a little bit fucked up.
Gotcha. I didn't realize
Yeah,
that
so
that
you're not
was the
supposed
issue.
to Sorry?
Oh, I said I didn't realize that that was the issue with the Dallasing. I thought it was just because he was like, I know
Oh no,
JTF2's not big for the media.
there was way more, but this is when he initially took the shot. It went all the way to Parliament, and they
Gotcha.
debated it in Parliament, saying, "Hey, so there's single A, double A, and triple A. We were at double A at the time, so advised assist. Um,
Oh, we went through the exact same thing.
and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so they're like, okay, well, you're not advised assist a company, but yet we could make Papalima Yankee the fucking door." And they can't say anything because we're still. And then if our allies come under fire, our ROEs say that we can assist our allies if they're being shot up, just like anything else. But no, again, no one wants to talk about that. And then they're like, well, why is this guy taking the shot? Or this group of guys taking these shots, which I think is a great thing. Like that's what we should be doing, like we talked about before. But then it gets people asking questions about what we're doing, and some of the stuff Dallas said on the podcast. Well, true, 100% true. It's just I believe it's maybe some of the stuff that we just don't talk about because no one's really going to understand, even though it's the truth and it's what needs to be done. We just don't talk about it.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, and I think that's it actually took me a while to realize why, even in the unit, why all the secrecy, and it's not because you're hiding something. It's because it's not always for the public. Like it's no one's fucking
Yeah,
business. Like I know in the States that they got this weird thing with this accountability thing. They release police body cam footage to the media, and I'm like, why the fuck would
yeah,
you do that? Like I get it. There's probably a good part to it where it's like there's evidence and it's like this is what it looks like from our perspective, etc. But that can also attract a lot of scrutiny, and I think that's
yeah.
why some units like JDF2, for example, have good OPSEC for the most part, is because it's no one else's
Yeah.
fucking business.
Well, you didn't hear anything about JTF2 for years and years and years. It wasn't really until recently, and even still recently, when you look at the CANSOF, so Canadian Special Operations Forces Command, they do social media stuff. It's all CSOR. It's CSOR and CGIRU, so, our Tier 2 guys and, like, our nuclear biological response guys.
Yeah,
You don't see too much of even JTF2 in there. They just don't talk about it still, which I believe is a good thing because people don't want to know the truth. Most people don't want to know the truth, obviously. And not saying that we're out there fucking stacking bodies and killing babies by any means. But there has to be an element of secrecy to what we do and or what, the guys do now. It's just a fact of life. And it's unfortunate, and you'd like to, all the SEAL team movies that you see, and all the Delta movies that you see, and all them being fucking hard dudes, and they are hard dudes. Yeah, it's something. Yeah, it's just yeah.
no, I get it.
And it's shitty. It's shitty that we can't talk about it. Like we're in the fucking 2024 almost. Fucking we can't have this because someone will fucking come in and shut this down. My last podcast, I'm pretty sure they censored me because I fucking swear like a sailor because I'm a fucking, I don't know, a drunk infantry guy.
What was your last podcast?
I did one with Black Kraken Kennel, and I didn't realize it at the time, but because it was on the Instagram live thing or the Facebook, I did a couple of them. And the one girl at the end's like, I think they censored you. Like, I think they just cut off your mic in parts of it. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, we don't do that here.
Yeah.
The only time, oh sorry, twice I've had to, I wouldn't say censor, but I recorded one episode and then the person's agency was like, just don't release it.
Mhm.
And I mean, like if JDF2 called me and said take it down, I'd be like,
Yeah.
go fuck yourself. But if you called and said, hey man, I'm copping some flack, would you mind? And I'd be like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But this person,
and that's
was,
what happened with Sean Ryan, right? Like, I've seen it twice now that CANSOF sent out cease and desist orders. One was for a dog thing, actually, guys talking shit that they never did, but were telling people they did. And then one for that Sean Ryan podcast. I'm like, this is fucking crazy, man. Like, Dallas is out, and I get it. Like, even going back for Duff's funeral, there's some people that are on Dallas' side and some people that aren't on Dallas' side. Whatever, man. Like, he's out. Let him fucking say whatever he wants. And like, there's obviously some trade secrets that you have to keep.
Yeah.
But he put in a long time. He did a lot of good stuff. And well, I know I'm a fucking big mouth. Dallas admits to some things even on the podcast that he maybe shouldn't have said to certain people at the unit, but hey, man, he did it and he admits it. So
yeah,
I don't know.
And mate, there was a couple of good things that I liked about what he said. He was like, you guys selected me for these attributes that I've got, thinking outside the box, being autonomous, etc., etc. And then when you try to shove me in the box, and I go, hey, you wanted this fucking personality, this type of guy, these traits, and when I start to show that, you get a bit cranky and you fucking smack me on the bottom. I kind of like that. I was like,
you told me to push through anyway.
Yeah, 100%. I quite like that, man. And I think there's that. Like, I was chatting to another guy, Pat Stewart, another X2 Commando dude, on the podcast a couple of weeks back, and we were just talking about you've just got to have that little bit of broken, that little bit of crazy, but it's got to be the right broken and the right crazy in order to operate in those environments.
100%. Yeah.
Like that fucking nerd dude you were like sitting in the car with.
Saying what I was trying to say earlier, like, how does a fucking psychopath say you're going to go into the jungle with these 25 dudes and kill those other 200 dudes? Okay, just go and do that. You got to be a little bit fucking.
Yeah. But like we were saying before, that's when you can seek that. You can look for the dragon in the wrong places, and that's what I used to do, man. I used to chase the dragon in all the wrong places. It's why I don't drink anymore. It's why I don't fucking go out. It's why I just concentrate on my business and my family. Like, because I know what I'm capable of, and I know that I've fucking burned some bridges real bad in the past, and I like.
Oh yeah.
So probably the same as you. I don't know how you left, but the way I left the unit was like, when I finish something and I leave, I'll fucking burn all my bridges and I'll leave it in a fucking, in flames sort of thing. Like if I'm going to do it,
I was pretty fortunate when I left. So we have within Can Softcom, we have what's called a soft reserve. And not everyone gets offered a spot into it. But when I left and talked to our RSM, he's like, we're full right now. So I was a master corporal, and pretty much everyone at the unit at the time, if you're operational, you're a master corporal, rank-wise. He's like, there's no spots left, but go and tell, his secretary at the time to make you a spot, and we'll get you in there. Because apparently I was pretty good at what I did. I felt very, very fortunate to be able to have that because, there's other guys that probably deserve it that didn't get a spot. And I'm not there anymore, obviously. Like, I'm not in the soft reserve. I'm completely out. I actually thought about getting back in a couple of years ago. Basically, like, probably a year into my policing career, I was like, fuck this. Like, what a fucking mistake. This is fucking horrible. And the funniest part is everyone told me, like, you're going to fucking hate this. Just stay here, be a dog trainer at the Hill, do that stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go, like, the wars are kind of over. And that was, something else. Like, fuck, man, things have changed. Like, it is not 2006 anymore. It's not 2010. Like, we are not doing the same thing. And you go over and you do some of it, whatever it's a training mission in Africa or it's a fucking, even the later missions in Iraq when they were kind of shitty, to be honest. And not shitty, but just like, you're not doing the same thing. It's not the same anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that almost mentally gets to you. Like you said, chasing the dragon. What do we do? How do we get better? How do we get that feeling back again? How do we get that rush back? And like crackheads do it. Like we got a big problem with fentanyl in Canada and all this shit. And they're chasing the dragon like fucking kill themselves. And, I think that there's some of us in the Army that do essentially the same thing, that try and get that rush back, when they were the best or when they were in their 20s and healthy and fucking, in the special forces, whatever it may be. How do you ever get to that level again once you get out? And I was told, like, someone told me once I peaked too soon. Like, I had my dream job in my late 20s. And I'm like, this was, like, when I was a kid, this is what I want to be, a special forces fucking dog handler. I'm like, holy fuck, I am in the tier 1 counterterrorism unit. And I'm whatever, 26, 27, 28, like the prime of my life. I've been fighting fucking wars since I was fucking 18. And now, I don't know, I just like train dogs to sit.
It's funny you mentioned that, man, because I probably that's an interesting way to frame it. I kind of feel the same. I definitely don't think that was the height of my life, but at that time I was like, this is it. I've made it. I'm the best. I'm awesome. And then I fucking blew it all up, ruined my career, ruined my marriage, all that type of stuff. Got out, mental health,
Yeah.
like a fucking basket case.
Yeah.
And now I'm in this phase of my life where I'm like, all right, I've got to remember how much fucking crazy is in here and that I can still achieve a lot of things. But I don't
Yeah.
but I don't want to chase the dragon the wrong way, which I know that I'm capable of doing. Like if I went into the cops, man, I guarantee I would have done the same dumb shit that I did in the army. I would have had the same problems. I would have clashed with the same
Yeah.
guys. It just would have been on body cam and on the fucking someone filming me in the valley or something, you know?
100%, man. Like, I had issues with like leadership in our police organization because I believed that they weren't doing what was best for the people on the road. And the worst part was, like, I'm not one to back down to anybody. I don't give a fuck who you are or what your rank is. If you're not doing what's right for the people under you, I'm going to fucking tell you about it. And I can tell you my last day in Durham K9 was when I said, this is the hill I'm willing to die on, so you better fucking figure it out. And the next day I was taken out. And I was like, oh, well, apparently I just died on that hill. But you know what? You got to be okay with that. And in my mind, when I said that, I'm fucking okay with it, because if you're not going to do the right thing, and it was me pushing a tactical integration program for the safety of the guys, and we were doing it really well, blah, 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 and then they're like, nope, 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 you can't do this. Okay, why? If you could just tell me why and it made sense, okay, I'll back down. But if you just say because I fucking said so, well, like I said, this is just like butt sex. This is just going to happen. So fucking get ready. And like you said before, like you said about Dallas, they want us to push forward. They want us to keep going. They want us to do all this stuff and be aggressive in our, endeavors. And then when we are aggressive in our endeavors, they don't really want that anymore. They want someone who's subservient and will do whatever they want. And I'm not about that. And I'm very fortunate. I got, like, as Joe Rogan refers to as fuck you money. So I don't fucking have to do anything. I tell people that too when I, do seminars and stuff like that. Remember, I'm the CEO of fucking Viking K9. You can't fucking fire me. So put all your complaints in if you want.
Interesting. I sort of take the piss with a few mates of mine, and I'm like, yeah, I take complaints in person. But do you find that now out of the military, like you still got the same mindset, but you got your own business? Do you?
Yeah.
And I want to go back to JDF2 in a second and in Iraq and whatnot, but do you find that you enjoy the business aspect because you've got a lot more autonomy and you're just like, you know what? Viking K9 is going to make fucking whiteboards tomorrow, and that's what we're doing because I just decided it.
Yeah. It's good in definitely some ways. And I know the canine world, and if you put 3 dog trainers in a room, the only thing they'll agree on is that the other guy's a fucking idiot. So I like it. Like, I stand behind the things that I say because I believe they're facts based, and I can anything that I tell you, I can explain so that it makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, we shouldn't fucking do it. And I like that I can just be like, if you don't fucking like this, leave. Like, I had a whole police service come, and I failed them all on their monthly validation because they fucking failed. And I'm not of the opinion that this is fucking, Candyland where everyone gets a fucking winner and everyone gets a participant. No, like, people need to know they suck. And if you never know you fucking suck, then how do you get any better? And it's the same thing for me. If I'm a fucking piece of shit, or if what I'm doing isn't fucking right, fucking tell me. I can take it. Like, I'm a big boy. I've done a lot in my life. But then you get people like I failed them. So, in Canada, we have to have certain validation standards for dogs. We have to have a call off, which is you send the dog and then stop him before he bites. You have to have a verbal call off, and then you have to be able to send the dog and get him, like apprehend somebody, and then verbal recall out. You have to have some obedience, blah 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 blah. And I believe in doing scenario based validations, not just stagnant ones where you're like in the middle of the field. So I did a scenario based validation. All my guys pretty much passed. Another service came in with all their dogs, and they all failed in front of their sergeant, in front of their trainer. And I didn't do anything different. They're all the exact same. And they all failed because their training standard was much lower than mine. And then they went and complained. Their sergeant was going to bring me in. Like, we want you to come for 5 days, train our guys, make them better. She goes on vacation, comes back, and the guys, I guess, had went behind her back and are like, yeah, if you bring Rod in, he's going to fuck up all our dogs. And I'm like, yeah, because they'll fucking bite people. And I'm pretty proud of that, to be honest. Like, there's some handlers in Ontario in that GTA police service I belong to that have great dogs and are great handlers, and they get in shit for it because they're out there fucking looking for work and hunting people down and making their dogs the best they can be. And I tell them, whoever has the best dog is fucking right. So if you suck, I'm going to tell you. And is there shitty dogs there? 110%. Is there some good dogs? Yeah. And I train a couple different police services now. And you can see the varying levels of dogs in there. But I'll tell you, you suck. This is what you need to work on. And then we'll start from there. The goal is to make everyone the best they can possibly be. And no matter if it's K9 or whatever it is. And I was fortunate that I got to kind of weave myself into some use of force stuff. So the shooting and CQB stuff and policing. And got to do some of that stuff just to make things better, because in my mindset, I should be bringing everyone up. And
yeah, I think.
But again, that comes from a military special forces mindset where we want everyone to be the best.
I think the hard part about that for most people, man, is that they don't like to look in the mirror and see the ugly parts. Whereas, again, I'll use me as an example because I know me the best and I love talking about me. When I went through some shit leaving the military, I fucking had to look in the mirror and be like, bro, you're fucked up. You got to fix some things about yourself.
Yeah.
Take some responsibility. And it was, it was a difficult transition, but life kind of forced that on me. Whereas I find that a lot of people don't like to do that because they're just like, well, if I just sit here in this semi-comfortable space, I'm not going to have any problems. I can just keep moving forward through life and nothing's going to hurt me. But the way you put it before, so that term failing forward, I'm actually in a state of flux writing a book at the moment. I was going to call it Failing Forward, the book no one asked for. And it's just about everything that I've failed in my life and then fixed and done again later. Selection, marriage, military career, business, friendships, everything. I've failed it first and then I've done it again later. But yeah, man, I think it's a society thing, dude. And I hope we don't open a massive can of worms by me saying that. But I think it's a society thing, dude. People don't like the discomfort in order to grow. They're just happy to sit in the mundane.
100%. You know what? We accept mediocrity as the standard.
Correct.
And it shouldn't be. And it's huge. And it's huge in I'm going to say Western culture. And that includes, Canada, US, Australia, UK, pretty much the Five Eyes. When we accept this low standard and we keep lowering the standards, and people would be like, well, Rod's a fucking, I don't know, cocksucker who doesn't believe. No, we lower the standards for everyone, and it's fucking bullshit because you should hold yourself to a higher standard. I want to be the best. And when I have K9 guys I train, I will fucking tell them you were the best today. You fucking suck. You're the best. But I tell them that because I want them to be better. And they need to know when I sucked, if I was really shit at something, whether it be fucking Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu. And Jiu-Jitsu I find is the most fucking humbling thing you can do in your life because no matter how fucking good you get, there's always going to be someone better, or you're going to get old. Like, Hoist Gracie was a great fighter. GSP, great fighter. You fucking get old. Muhammad Ali, great fighter. You eventually get old and are not the best anymore, and you need to be humbled by that stuff. However, try and be the best at whatever you do. Don't accept just a standard. Just be like, yeah, like I got my dog to sit, so that's it. We had, guys doing tactical integration stuff the other week, and one guy knew that his dog could be at a higher standard. And I always ask the guys, is that acceptable to you? They know their dog's best, so I come in, whatever it is, once a week or once a couple weeks, and I say, okay, like, is that acceptable to you? And they'll look at me like, I'm like, I can't tell. Like, this is exactly what I want. This is the standard that I want to achieve. But right now, where you are with your dog in this task, at your highest level, is this acceptable to you? And, guys still now, and it's been years, some guys that will be like, and they'll say this, when I do this stuff, I think about Rod or think about what you're saying, and is that acceptable? And you put it back on them like, the fact is, mediocrity is not acceptable. And you should want to be the best. And if you're not trying to be the best, what the fuck are you doing? Like, how can we strive for mediocrity in all the things that we do? Like, how does that make you feel as a person to say, you know what, I'm going to do this just as easy as I can and do nothing else, and then go home and, I don't know, fucking drink Jack Daniels. I don't know, man. Like, it's something else, and I think it's a societal thing and a generational thing where, we give everyone all these, no one fails anymore. You should fucking fail, and you should fail at a lower level. When we talk about kids in Canada, you don't fail grade school anymore. You get like a needs improvement. I had to get someone to explain this to me because they said, oh, they got an N, and I'm like, holy fuck. When I went to school, it only went to F, so they must be really retarded. She's like, no, it's a needs improvement. I was like, okay, so they failed. I'm like, no, you don't fucking fail now. Well, like, if you get a needs improvement, you're probably fucking stupid, so you probably should fail. But they don't do that, and then they get out into the real world, and when they get failure in the, because they suck at their first job, and then they can't handle it, imagine that these are the people that are going to fight the wars for us next. Like, oh, my fucking sock has a hole in it. I can't walk anymore.
And I think
I got in trouble once for not giving a guy water. Like, don't carry the fucking water, you don't get any fucking water. There you go.
I think it can be hard for dudes coming from our profession, who do try and excel in X aspect of our life. It's hard for us to come to terms with and then accept that not everyone has the same mentality. So that's why I do my own business. I do Tom Brown's business, Tom Brown's way. Now I'm looking to slightly change that mentality to sort of prepare my business for real life and expansion. But man, like all my inner circle of friends, we all struggle with the same shit. We're just generally unimpressed by most people in society. And it's a fucking hard thing to come to terms with, man. So my friend Sean, he says, he's got this saying, most people live a mediocre life at best, miserable at worst. And it's true, man. Like 99% of humans live a fucking pretty average, miserable existence, man.
Yeah.
Which is hard for me to reconcile.
Get to their dream. Like think about who actually achieves their dreams these days. Like, not everyone can be a fucking rocket surgeon, let's put it that way. But I am one of the rare few, like you said, probably the 99%. Like, I don't know, if you hit my dream job from being a fucking kid, a shit ratting out South Oshawa, probably fucking stealing food from a store, was to be a fucking dog handler. And like, I actually did that at a very high level, and I'm, pretty fucking proud of that, to be honest. Now I'm a little bit fucked up, but it was worth it, and I wouldn't change it. It made me who I am today, and it made me almost harder. And like Veterans Affairs in Canada, that they help you out financially, and they want you to not go fucking crazy and kill everyone. So I had this lady come in and talk to me, and she's like, I got a bad shoulder and bad neck, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes, like, even just vacuuming and mopping, my shoulder will pop out. So I was fucking cleaning our house, whatever, and my shoulder came out. I'm like, oh fuck, that really hurt. And I kept mopping, and then it came out again. And she's like, well, why would you do that? I was like, because I wasn't fucking done yet. And she's like, well, it's just mopping, just stop. And I was like, so I went on a little fucking soapbox tangent. And I was like, in my military career, we were always told to push through. Like, pain is just the beginning. Pain doesn't mean stop. And how many times have you been on a fucking, an op where you didn't want to fucking walk anymore, where you're carrying a fucking 200-pound rucksack? When you're doing all this fucking gay shit, resistance to interrogation. Who fucking likes that? Yeah, bend over and spread your ass cheeks. Like, yeah, that's what I want to do. You know what? I'd rather not do that. Like, I'd rather not be in stress positions for fucking 4 days naked. Like, I don't know, sucking someone else's dick. But, you do it and you just get through it and you don't let the pain stop you. Whereas even a slight inconvenience now seems to stop people. Like, holy fuck, like, my shoelace is undone. Can't go any further. Fucking call her quits, bud. But like, that's what society wants you to do. And this lady that came and was trying to like fix my fucking mindset, that's what she wanted. She's like, well, just stop. I'm like, how about now? But like, again, like you said, the problem is they strive for mediocrity and they get this little inconvenience and then they stop, and that's allowed. Like, society has allowed them to do that. And just be mediocre. And as soon as you get a little inconvenience, fucking stop. Like, me and you would have got fucking yelled at. Like, I can tell you. But I was like, you know what? I don't really want to do any more like push-ups. That would be great if we could just stop this. Like, I don't want to do any more pull-ups. Can we just like stop that? No, that's not the fucking solution to the problem. So, yeah, that's my soapbox rant.
No, it was a good soapbox rant, man, and that's probably a good time to transition back to JDF too, because my listener just going, fucking ask him some dog questions. Yeah. What would a dog say about what we just said? Yeah,
exactly. Whoa.
Yes. So going into JTF2 as a handler, obviously you said like a bit of a rocky start with the reception because maybe the integration of dogs wasn't the best at the time.
Yeah.
So that would have been post-Afghanistan era. What was the focus of the unit at the time? And then talk to me about leading up to your first trip.
We were pretty fortunate that there wasn't a huge gap between Afghanistan and Iraq. The use of dogs was really starting to come through, and because the U.S. was so we train with Devin Keg all the time. There's constantly someone at the hill there from either unit, and we would send guys out there. So they were using dogs so much that it really helped us get that integration piece kind of going. But you really had to force yourself in there. Like, it came to the point where essentially we would, be doing training stuff, and I'm like, I'm fucking coming. And I'm throwing the dog in. So if you're going to start doing CQB, like, all you're going to see is me run up and throw the fucking dog in the room, whether you like it or not. And it got to that point because I try, obviously, when you first get to the squadron, sit back and shut the fuck up. You're the new guy. Just sit, watch, learn, see how guys are. And the only way you're going to get in and get the respect of the guys and earn their trust is by being the best at what you do. I don't know if I was the best, but I was pretty good at some point. I guess some people say that. So I was very, very fortunate to get in 3 Squadron, which is very progressive. I think it's the best one, personally. But I was very fortunate to get in with the deck commanders that we had there in both in both troops. The deck commanders were awesome. Some people pushed back, and we got support from some of the other ones that had seen what I can do on a personal level, and they're like, no, we're going to do this. When we started doing aircraft stuff, originally we never used dogs, and I'm like, we got to try it. One of the sayings that we used to say is, if you're not hitting in the white, you're not shooting fast enough. So it's okay to fuck up. Like, if it doesn't work, that's fine. And I was very, very fortunate that I had probably one of the best leaders as a squadron commander that I've ever seen, Davey J., who's the CO of the unit now. and he said something. All of us are smarter than any one of us, and I want you guys to push the limits. Like, push the limits every single day. And that's what we fucking did. We just did it. And I was very fortunate that I had guys like Josh that were there, and like some other deck commanders, Lee, and a bunch of the other guys that, you know, are definitely going places, that accepted K9. It took some fucking time. It definitely wasn't overnight. Some guys didn't like it. Some of the older guys, some of the newer guys saw the advantages. And then we really started rolling. And by the time we did workup for the first Iraq, it was like they wanted the dog all the time.
Yeah.
So we were very fortunate that way that it started rolling kind of there. And we had the dog doing everything. No matter what it was, there was a dog there. You know, we did close protection, and we did a close protection course at the hill. Dog there. We did whatever it was, there was a dog there. We did MCT, there was a dog there. Like, and when you think about doing stuff like MCT, to have a dog, you know, on the first chalk, or, you know, to have a dog if we're doing half SAF, or if we're just doing full SAF, to have a dog as one of the first ones up there, man, that they're like, they don't really like it at first, but it's just like butt sex is going to happen. So that was kind of my mentality going into it, is like, we have to get into this. And there was obviously guys that came before me that laid a lot of groundwork. Like, I'm not by far the first one. I'm one of, you know, I guess the first, I don't know, I think I'm number like 7 or something like that, is for dog handlers. Yeah, it was a bit of a rough go, but it got amazing, and it became something that, you know, I think we should all be pretty proud of. And when guys like Mike and Josh took over when I left, the squadron was really, really into it. And guys like Mike and Josh, they kind of took over, and we're hopefully going to be the next generation that really pushed it through and made it integral, because it was so scattered. Like, I could be with 3 squadron for an IR and an out of area, and then when we go to rest and refit, I go to IR to another squadron because there's no dog handlers. So you kind of lose that continuity, which is what we were trying to do by me being in the squadron the whole time. Yeah, but we were very fortunate. And now you see, so in Canada anyhow, we never really had a lot of tactical integration within our police. And the police came to us and essentially said, so one of the bigger police forces in Canada, I think it's the second largest in Canada, is the Ontario Provincial Police. And they came and said, hey, we want to integrate K9 into our tactical unit. And so they came, and we did some demos for them and did some shit. And they're like, yeah, we want to do this. And they actually sent one of their TAC members to the Hill for a year, and he came on course with us. And yeah, and I will say, like, as much as they're cocksuckers and they give out a bunch of fucking useless speeding tickets, they do have the best K9 unit, I would say, in the country. Again, they did the smart thing. They took all the trainers from the Hill and put them in one spot. So Brad, who made our program what it is, probably one of the best trainers in the world, he went there. He took over their program, brought Cliff with him, who also trained us in tracking and stuff like that. Murray DeRuiter's there, been doing it for years. And yeah, they made an awesome program that's kind of modeled the rest of the country. And so now when we see tactically integrated K9s, they're essentially doing the same thing as soft K9s are doing.
Yeah, awesome, man. Yeah, I think I've got a couple of mates in that police department, but I'm not exactly sure about some of the geography of Canada. So, mate, talk to me about the first Iraq deployment. What was the mandate? You said it was obviously the AA out of AAA, so advisor assist.
Honestly nothing that. Yeah, it was really nothing.
Yeah. So you paired with a local force, and you did some training, sent them out to do some gigs, and just like
the Pesh, teamed up with the Pesh. Guys scattered everywhere. Not a huge contingent there. Um, yeah, like nothing that I'm really willing to talk about. So
Fair enough.
yeah, sorry, man.
No, it's all good, bro. Yeah, like
Um,
I get it, man. But
yeah,
like,
yeah, it wasn't 2006. Let's put it that way. There was still stuff going on, um, but it was different. Definitely, that's when you see the shift in mentalities and the shift in our government for their threshold of putting Canadians and be it special forces or anyone else in real harm's way to like really, really fight wars.
yeah,
Um, there was a shift. Uh, and that's, I think, when you look at liberal policies versus conservative. When we first went to Afghanistan, we were in a liberal government back in those days, and it transitioned to 10 years of conservative. Now we're on 10 years of liberal. Um, when you look at what we would have preferred to do, vice what was taking place, um, it was government driven that we were not doing what we really, really wanted to. Yeah, that's it.
yeah. No, well, it was
Yeah,
exactly the same for us, man. Obviously, we're a direct action unit, so it was like, yeah, it was frustrating to be sort of cock blocked like that. And they'd still cock tease you every now and then and be like, "Oh no, we'll get there with a company piece and blah blah blah," and we're always putting con-ops up. And but yeah, it wasn't quite what it should have been. Um, so
yeah.
what's the mandate of JTF2? Like, what's the actual core function of JTF2?
So the mandate is hostage rescue and counterterrorism. Essentially, like when you talk about the scalpel, we were the scalpel, and for the most part, we were also the hammer. Um, the abilities, when we talk about it, and I'm sure it's the same thing in Australia, when we look at other countries, say the US and the UK, when we talk about DevGru and CAG and SAS and SBS, um, in Canada, much like in Australia, there's only one tier one unit. So we did everything. And that included, domestic counterterrorism. So when we have immediate reaction squadron, that's ready for anything that happens. So in Canada, a couple of years ago, there was a shooting just outside Parliament. They killed a soldier that was guarding the Tomb of the Unknown or the War Memorial, and then the guy ran into our Parliament building
Wow.
and started shooting. He was actually taken down by like the Speaker of the House, who like ran in and got his gun and did like a big diving like thing. But
Where was Trudeau while
there's been
this was
other
happening?
incidents. Oh fuck, I don't know. Probably hiding under his fucking boyfriend's skirt or
He's
something
just
like
clutching his
that.
purse, just like, ah.
Oh yeah. Help! Help! No guns, but help! Yeah, fuck. It's so there is that domestic counterterrorism mandate, which the guys are like 24 hours notice to move anywhere in the world. When we talk about the Philippines stuff with those two hostages that were killed, that's what we did. Like, we get the call, we go in, we load up our pallets, and we just fucking sit there like dogs waiting to fucking go. Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, that it's like the pager pay, right? So
Yeah.
you're on. They could call right now if I was there, and you just go. You just get up and go, and that's your life. And to be honest, it's good for a while, but it's like, if you want to talk about, you talked about family. I told my ex at the time that my job comes first. Like, my job is the most important thing, because at the time it was to me. Like, and I think if you want to be the very best at anything, it has to come first, and that's a sad reality. But that's how it is. Like, the fact is, when we look at Olympic athletes or high level players or high level military, you put it first. And I've seen lots of guys sleeping in the stalls or sleeping on a couch somewhere in the squadron. because they got kicked out. You know, we have the Heartbreak Hotel over there, which is like the rooms guys stay in when they get, you know, kicked out by their wife. But you do put it first. And I'm pretty sure I can say I was gone 9 months of the year, every year for 5 or 6 years, easy. And I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
And that was a problem. Like for home life, that's a problem. But if you want guys to see every day, like I would get, you know, 2 3 weeks off, a leave in the military at a time, and I would just go to work. So I'm like, there's a gym there, there's guns there, I get all the ammo that I want, I get to go and fucking play with dogs, and I just get to do whatever I want. Like, why the fuck wouldn't I go there? Like, that's like the to me when I bought my house out here. The one thing I wanted, I was like, I want to have enough room to have a range so I can shoot my guns out here. Like, that's what I want to do. Yeah, I am that fucking redneck like hick guy. But that's what I like. And being at work, I like the people that I worked with. I like going in and working out and fighting and shooting and like doing dog shit. Why would I want to be home? Like that was fucking sweet. Um, and again, if you want to be the best, like you got to fucking be there all the time. Like it's not, you know, a Monday to Friday thing. It's whenever to whenever.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and I'm sure you know that it does take a toll on your social life or your, you know, married life or whatever it may be. You know, there's some people there, I don't know how they stayed together. Like it is fucking amazing. Because I can tell you that they were gone probably more than I was, and guys that put in more hours than I did, and I thought I put in a lot of hours. But that's life when you want to be the best.
Yeah, there's got to be that trade-off, man. Like, no matter what you're doing, you're sacrificing something, and the bigger that thing is, the more you sacrifice something else. So look, man, you've obviously done your two Iraq tours. Obviously, things weren't quite the way you wanted it to because of the government and whatnot. Can you just give us a real quick rundown of the recovery mission you guys were spun up to do in the Philippines? And then I want to move on to your
Yeah, I'll tell you.
briefly into police career.
I think that that was the beginning of the end for the kind of veil that was JTF2 and like is JTF2, and not to put it on any of the guys or even the leadership there. It's just the government's appetite for I guess troop losses and violence on an international stage. And when we talk about the Philippines, like remember that the Philippines fucking like GDP is based off of, I think 1/3 of it is based off nannies sending money home, and that's the country's GDP. It's pretty fucked up the fact that we are subservient to a country that, you know, 1/3 of their gross domestic product is nannies. They took 2 Canadians hostage. They obviously threatened them. They asked for money. You know, we don't negotiate with terrorists, which I completely agree. We spun up our immediate reaction squadron. You know, we came up with a plan. The plan, you know, was as good as it was going to be for that time. You know, the fact is you can only fuck with the cock you got. And you do the best with, you know, the 24 hours notice you have. Everyone was all on board when we talked about the guys. You know, there was lots of people on that one, and I think this is when people became disenfranchised with what was actually going on, in my personal opinion. You know, we had a lot of int briefs from everywhere. We had support from the Australians. We had support from the Americans. You know, there was lots of talk and lots of moving places, lots of packing. Okay, yeah, we're going. Yeah, we're going. Yeah, we're going today. Yeah, we're going today. Yeah, we're going today. We get guys on the island. First guy dies. They cut his head off, rolled it down the road, set his body on fire. Like pretty significant stuff to make an impact.
Yeah.
And then the second guy, we're like, we have to do it now. The president of the Philippines at the time, there was a presidential election going on. The newer president had been a police officer there and was big, tough on crime. You know, not anything against him. You know, we said we'd do it alone. We said we'd do it with them. We said we'd do it and say that they did it. You know, I don't think any of this is OPSEC stuff because who fucking cares? Our prime minister's a useless cunt and he just let them both die anyhow. So when we talk about the second guy dying and, you know, whether we had we had enough elements in place that we could have conducted something. And when we talk about the right thing, the wrong thing, and nothing, um, we essentially did nothing, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion. Um, I think it's better to have tried and failed than to have done nothing at all. And it really takes the wind out of guys' sails that have, spent the best years of their life, or, when we talk about their youth in some aspects, training for stuff like this and preparing for stuff like this and going to Afghanistan and doing that stuff and willing to make that sacrifice no matter what it be, whether it be to, go there and complete successfully or go there and die. They're willing to put 25 guys against 200 on their home turf with whatever means necessary. And we just let two of our civilians die without doing anything. That's pretty disappointing, and that's not even the whole story. And if you knew the whole story, you'd probably be even more depressed about it. And I'm not going to talk about that because that's someone else's story to tell. But it's pretty saddening to see that you train your whole life and people sacrifice, like we talked about, not only their personal lives and their family and their physical abilities, and some guys that get hurt. I know a guy at the hill, skydiving, got tangled in some wires, had a really, really bad, obviously, electric shock. He ended up coming back from that. Hard dude, but guys are putting their lives on the line and they get injured every year. I can tell you, I was hospitalized every year, tore my MCL, my ACL, my Achilles, broke my back, my neck, complete rotator cuff tear, lost the use of like half my right arm. And I would still go and do it if, someone asked me to, because it's the right thing to do. And it's what I wanted to do my whole life. I think you saw kind of a mass exodus at that time because people came to the realization that, is it ever going to be the same again? The Philippines was a big failure, not in a military aspect, but on a governmental aspect. The fact is, those families suffered a great, great loss, and we did nothing. And to do nothing is the worst thing, and to be almost helpless as a special operations group because your government's saying, nah, we don't really want to piss these people off. Like, we send our garbage there sometimes, and we need nannies from there, so we don't want to go and piss off that government. They're a fucking tiny island, and the fact is, if Canada wanted to, we could actually take them over. We had support from our allies, like I said, the US and Australia, and that's all we needed to complete this mission at the time. I think it disheartens people that are in the unit to have that. I'm not going to say failure, and it's not a failure of the unit by any means. It's a failure in government, that those people died, or at least, they died and we didn't do anything. Had we have tried and failed, I think more people would have been satisfied. And now, would it have meant more losses? Yes. However, from my perspective anyhow, I would rather have tried and failed than have done nothing at all. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you talk about like moral injuries like that, I think that's my opinion. Most guys aren't bothered by the violence or the the scary stuff. They're bothered by the bureaucratic dog shit, the the moral injuries that come with, like you said, the sacrifices you make, your family make, your friends make for your identity being a protector and a provider, and when you've had that taken away from you because of the government or the political party of the day, it's fucking damaging, man. It's a moral
Yeah.
injury.
Yeah. Mentally, it's one of the hardest things to come back from. I believe, anyhow. Just like you said there, I think you said it perfectly. I can go out and I can, deal with bad guys, but the fact is, when nothing gets done and you're almost helpless to do nothing, when you want to and you're capable, that's the worst part mentally. Failure is the worst part mentally, and knowing that, well, it may not be our failure because we did everything that we could to get ready for it, and literally putting our stuffs on pallets and waiting at an airport. In some aspects, being on the island within a couple kilometers of where these people were killed, and yet we did nothing.
Yeah. So that was, like you said, that was the beginning of the end for you, right? That was obviously the part for you where you're like, okay, I'm no longer aligned
Yeah.
with the government of the day or the strategy or whatever it was. Can you just give us an idea of
There
it?
was that, and then injuries just started piling up. Like
Yeah.
I went to go and do my advanced parachuting course, and I got hurt really early on. I couldn't use my arm just stopped working. So I just kept going, and then it just got worse. And eventually, they had to medically pull me off. And this is the problem when you get people like me and you that are a little bit fucking retarded, and they're like, "Hey, man, I only need one arm to like jump out of an airplane. Like, we're only doing high altitude parachuting. Like, who fucking cares?" Um, like that to anyone else, they're like, "If your arm doesn't work, you should probably stop." And I remember talking. We were, getting ready, practicing jumping out in formation out of like the mock airplane on the ground, and only one arm went up. And the guy comes and grabs my other arm, and it falls down. And I'm like, yeah, it just doesn't work right now, but it'll be fine because the air will like push it back, and then like it'll be fine. Yeah, take my strong hand.
Like
Like,
fucking olive
fuck
oil from
that.
Popeye.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm that wacky waving fucking arm guy. Um, yeah, man, like that's the mindset that we have, and I know a lot of guys have, and trust me, there's a lot of dudes that are way harder than I am. I'm just a fucking, I don't know, like a fucking idiot for doing this, but yeah, when we look at all the stuff that we went through, and then what happened in the Philippines, and then getting hurt there, and like I've just racked up so many injuries that it was almost time for me to ride a desk. And who wants to fucking ride a desk? Like that was worse than death for me. Exactly, yeah. And I did get a pretty good offer, there, but I thought that I could still operate at a high level as a police officer. So I was like, okay, well, that's going to be what I'm going to do. I'm going to go do policing, and it'll be good, and I'll run a dog out there, and everything will come back together. And so I up and left, and I was fortunate. I left in good standing, and but like I said, I really never went back after that. I saw some things that were happening there that I didn't really like. Um, in hindsight being, I probably should have gone back to make it better for, I don't know if I could have made it better for some of the other people that were coming through there, but I didn't, and that's what I have to live with now.
Yeah, like I can hear it in your voice too, and I can see your physical demeanor is sort of different to the we were talking about that stuff before about the violent parts and the contacts and whatever. And I think that's a testament to like the kind of things that people like us suffer from. It's not the violence or anything like that. It's the fuck, you've really let me down, guys. Like
Yeah,
I thought we were this thing. I had my identity tied up in this thing, and now I'm not. It's been taken from under me, or whatever the case was. Like
yeah,
I blew it up. You were injured, so. But either way, we both lost the same thing, so you kind of mourn it
yeah,
more than you
100%.
miss it, I guess. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and you know what? That's a good way to put it because, and who fucking knows? I could have fucking gone off the rails when I was there. I could have been pushed out later on. I was very fortunate to leave when I did, and I was pretty much at the top of my career, doing pretty well. I just thought that I could maintain a very high level somewhere else, at a high level at a lower level, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and that was the goal, was to always be the best. And I think following in that statement to say always be the best at whatever it is you do, if you can't be the best anymore, sometimes it's time to leave and fucking make room for someone else. Because guys like, I was very fortunate. I had guys like Josh coming through that were, super switched on, super good to go, and, smarter than me, physically healthier than me, like lots of other stuff, had more drive, had lots more ambition. Um, like those guys should get it, to be honest. There's times when you see the old guys hanging on there. Not that I was old by any means, but they kind of hang out there too long, and they stop newer people from coming in. Um, and that's not how it should be. Once you're kind of done, you should almost have the wherewithal to step aside and say, okay, someone else needs to carry this torch now, and push it to the next level. And I don't know if I fucked up in doing that, and this is the problem. Like, I don't know if I fucked up when I left, and if I should have stayed, and maybe I could have made things better there, but I didn't, and that's unfortunate. And whatever happened after me happened, and yeah, now we're kind of where we're at.
Yeah, mate, that's probably a good segue, dude, because I was just going to ask you what it was like leaving, and then do you find the same fulfillment in, being part-time in the cops and whatnot? However, I think there's a question on the Instagram that'll probably direct us in that way anyway. So just bear with me while I fucking Stephen Hawking my way through this. Yeah. So Christine LaRussa wants to know, how do you feel about training pet owners compared to doing the operational stuff in JDF2?
Yeah, so it is interesting. Like, the fact is, I don't like training pets. Everyone knows that. I started because, one, it is where the money's at. But I started taking on dogs that no one else would. So they're like, well, we're going to put this dog down if someone doesn't train it. I'm like, well, fuck, send it over here. We'll see if we can get it to some kind of semblance of acceptable behavior. I don't like training pets because people are fucking assholes. And when you do train them, they're like, okay, did you go home and do your homework? With cops or military guys, and be like, hey, fucking Tom, you were a cocksucker. You didn't fucking get your dog to sit 1,000 times, so that's your fucking fault. In the civvy world, when people are paying you to do this, they don't want to be called a fucking cocksucker, and they don't want to be told that they have to do their fucking 5 minutes of homework. And I was very fortunate that I just be like, well, I don't need your fucking money, so you can kiss my ass and fucking on to the next one. So hopefully that's the highlight of this fucking podcast, because that's my usual saying, fuck you, I don't need it. And I'm very fortunate that way. Like, I only take on what I want to do now. And, when some of the police guys see this, I'm very fortunate that if they don't like me, well, fucking go find someone else. You can suck my ass too. And I would say that to any of them, which is good, because the guys that know me know I want what's best for them, and I only want them to be the best. And as much of an asshole as I am to a lot of them, my intention is to make you a hard fucking motherfucker, and with a hard dog that's going to go out there and fucking get people. When I do train pets here, I train what I want to be honest. The dogs that I train here, like Kristen, she does tracking and detection, because that's what I like to do. If you don't fucking like that, well, fucking go somewhere else. I don't know, go to fucking PetSmart. I don't need your fucking money. So it's nice to be able to not be bought. And, again, I'm the CEO. You fucking have a complaint, well, you can suck my ass too. You can say whatever the fuck you want. Go on the fucking Google box and write a goddamn review. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate to be able to say that, because there's other people that, they need the money, to live or feed their family. I'm pretty good. So, yeah, fortunate that way.
Yeah.
So training pets, it fucking sucks 94% of the time, because people are cocksuckers. That's the answer to that.
If you want to, man, I'll clip that on the podcast, and we can put that straight to your marketing team. And
yeah, that'd be great. If you could just send that to me from my website, that would be a highlight of the night.
Yeah, like, oh, there's this lovely welcome video from Rod. Here we go. Oh, you can fucking suck my ass. Like, oh, okay. But yeah, mate, I sort of concur, dude. Like, it's probably for like a slightly different reason. I was in the pet market as well, and I kind of burned out a little bit, man, with the training component, because I was just like, part of it was me, because I probably should have done things a bit better, but part of it was the clientele. It was just not what I was used to. Like we were saying before, not everyone has that crazy fucking drive, that screw loose like some of the guys like us have. And it was hard for me to be like, I'm like, what do you mean you didn't stand in front of the mirror for 2 hours and doing that same one thing? Like, I've done that, and I'll do it now if I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How many
so
times when you were training your work dog did you just go up to doorways and down fucking feet? Like, think about the capping that you did, like the hours and hours, the hundreds and thousands of hours you did a useless shit. Like, it's not useless, it's important, but like the fucking dumb shit that you did, like you said, standing for how many fucking draws out of your holster did you do in the mirror at night when you were on course? Like, fuck, like, yeah, you look fucking dumb, but it needs to get done. Like, that's the shit work that needs to get done.
yeah, or even more boring, just that part, just like I got to
Yeah,
touch it there, touch it there, touch it there. So yeah, man.
100%.
Um, what the fuck have I done? So thank you, Christian Larusa, for your question. All right, S James 911, mate. Were you ever an undercover Canadian comedy legend, Tom Green? All I need is a yes or a no.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. So that one from S. James, that one might be a good one. So, um, when you were going through your course, did you ever have like dogs or handlers that were just fucking shit?
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah. Well, I was probably that guy too, but I had a bigger mouth and like would punch people in it. So, doing this now, especially in policing in this new age of policing where everyone is fucking needs kid gloves and that kind of shit. Not every dog can do it. Like, not everyone's a fucking astronaut. Not everyone has a fucking 10-inch dick. Um, so, with regards to dogs and selection and handler selection, with regards to tactical integration, um, not every dog genetically has the stability to do those jobs. And when we talk about genetic stability, I mean being able to push into the gray. And dogs work best in black and white. And fuck, we're actually talking about fucking dog stuff instead of dick and ass jokes. But when we talk about dogs work best in black and white, what I mean is, dogs go in and they bite people. Okay, so we want to make the sentences as short as possible. I bite people. Okay, fucking easy day. I bite people. When we say after that, okay, you can't bite people and say multicam, or a lot of cops or TAC teams here wear gray. So okay, I want you to be able to run through these guys in gray and bite that person in civvies. Okay, and then when I blow a whistle, I want you to come off biting that guy, run back through these guys in gray, run down the stairs, and come back to the hamlet. Okay, so does every dog have that genetic stability? And genetic stability is a thing. So when we talk about some dogs that have great genetic grip where they can bite and hold on and they don't come off, but they're eye fucking you the whole time, or they're nervy, or when we start piggy piling on some guys, so we get 5-6 guys on the guy that the dog's biting, the dog's like, holy fuck, this is too much. And I'm not talking about environmental stability where something that we train and we expose them to so that they have generalized into these environments. I'm talking about the dog's stability genetically. If he's only ever going to be a fucking 5 out of 10 and the max we can get him to is a 5, is that dog genetically stable enough to handle a tactical environment? And some dogs know. And for the fact is, most dogs know. If you go to Europe and test dogs, you can test 200 dogs. Maybe you take 20 home. Of those 20, maybe 2 pass. Yet we get people that are like, no, my dog can do it. No, your dog fucking sucks. Like, how many did you do detection with your dog? Explosive detection, probably?
Yep.
Okay, so how many times, or like old school times, was it like you're in the room and someone like opens the Velcro on their pocket and the dog's like, holy fuck, what was that? And you're like, hey, fuck! My dog didn't find that fucking hide because you opened your fucking... No, your dog didn't find the hide because you fucking suck. Did I lose you, Tom?
Nah, still here. You got me?
Oh, your picture's gone, but I'll just talk to myself like normal. So with regards to telling handlers that some of them aren't suited, we have to remember that it's not necessarily the handler that's not suited to the task. And while some handlers may not be suited to the task because they might not have, with regards to policing, a tactical mindset and that ability to integrate with the TAC team. As a trainer, you have to essentially the balls to say, hey man, you just don't have it. I've had to do that to a couple people, and they weren't happy about it. But the fact is, when we talk about it, when we break down what we're looking for in a tactically integrated dog, that dog genetically, either didn't have the grip or didn't have the environmental stability to be within that tack team, because I'm sure you don't want a number one in the stack to be, fucking looking down. Is this dog going to bite me in the leg? Is this dog going to bite me in the leg? Like, no, you need to be focused on what you have to do. And canines in general should only add to the operational ability of a tack team or a special operations group. They should never detract from it, meaning that they shouldn't take away the operators or assaulters' focus on the task at hand, which, should be taking that building or stacking those bodies.
Gotcha. I like it, man. I know you can't see me because I was just nodding, but can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, sweet. No, good, man. All right, man. That was a good one, dude. How's that related to Tom Green? Sorry.
Oh, fucker. God damn it. Do you know who Tom Green is? He's a Canadian comedian.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he looks like a fucking idiot. But everyone says that I look like him sometimes. Mostly people think I'm homeless. So, especially Sean, he thinks that I'm fucking homeless and I look like Tom Green. So he sends me that shit all the time. But he's
I'm
lucky
just looking
he's
at his
got a hot
profile there.
fiance, so he's fine.
I'm just looking at his profile. All right, mate. So next, I won't do all these fucking questions because we just go down a rabbit warren. But K9 Mike, mate, who's the most handsome decoy with dreadlocks that you know?
Fucking Mike. Yeah, it's definitely Mike. He's the only one with dreadlocks that I know. But yes, very good decoy. Me and him, very good dog trainer in general. Me and him taught a decoy course a couple years ago together. We had an awesome time. Got a lot of time for Mike. He's actually put out probably one of the best dogs that I've ever seen, in like worldwide. A dog that was owned by a handler that puts in the time and put in the work. And that dog, when we talk about genetic stability, that dog has it all. He's stable enough. He's got a great grip. He's got a great mindset. He's got street bites. He can work well with an attack team. He's clear-headed enough to do a lot of these tasks that when we talk about pushing in the dogs into the gray, he can operate at a very high level on the gray with very high-level distractors. But yes, Mike is also a good decoy. And he just put out a police decoy K9 course, so there's your plug, Mike.
Is that the online one?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on the potty, obviously, as you know, a few weeks ago, and he was talking about that. So, yeah, fucking go check it out if you haven't already. All right, I'm probably going to ask one more, or two more. There's a couple of piss take ones. So S Burn 31 wants to know how you feel about the leave it command.
Oh fuck, I hate it with a passion.
Yeah, why's that?
Okay, so when whatever, you have a pet or you even have a working dog and you got, say, shit out on the table, and everyone gets on me for this, but I don't give a shit. Me and Josh disagree on this. He says leave it. Mind you, again, he works with a lot of pet clients, and his rationale behind it, I don't believe in it, that they just won't do it. And again, I'm more fortunate that I got fuck you money, so I don't have to fucking impress anyone. So essentially, when your dog comes up, goes and sniffs something on a table, and you say fucking leave it and then do nothing, the likelihood of that dog doing the behavior again is pretty high. So when we talk about positive punishment, why do we punish? And it's to decrease the likelihood of that behavior happening. So I fucking hate the leave it command with a passion, because I believe people use it as a crutch. Leave it, and then you don't fucking do anything. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. When I tell a dog to leave it and he looks at me and he's like, I'm just going to fucking eat this. It's like me chasing after fucking ladyboys in Thailand. No, Rod, that's bad for you. No, well, it could be pretty good, so we should just try it. And then, whatever, there's a dick. But the next time we come in, they're like, leave it, and they don't do anything. So there's no punishment because, you know, you go into the blowjob bar at Soy 6 and could be a dude, could be a lady, who knows? Still good blowjob. But when we talk about leave it and there's no punishment for that, or, you know, there's no positive punishment or negative reinforcement, blah, 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 the dog continues to do it. So you end up saying leave it 10,000 fucking times. And you have to do it throughout the dog's life, where if I say no, I don't want that behavior to happen, you're not allowed to eat anything off the fucking table. Don't eat anything off the fucking table. So if you go to sniff the table, I'm going to say no, and I'm going to punish you to decrease the likelihood of that behavior happening. Now, when we talk about certain dogs, specifically detection dogs, do we want to kill that drive or that ability for them to explore? Because the fact is, in real life, there's going to be shit on tables. So I allow my gun detection dog to sniff. But if he goes to eat something off the table, I'm going to punish him. So for me, if I can come out with a fucking steak dinner, put it down on a coffee table and leave it there and leave the room, and I know that my dog's not going to eat it because he knows, oh fuck, that is not a desired behavior. And if I eat that, I'm going to be punished. And when we talk about the 3 I's of positive punishment, immediate, inescapable, and impressionable, I've gone through this positive punishment and I punished him for this behavior, and I've done it, and I've captured those 3 I's of positive punishment. So the likelihood of him doing this behavior again is very low as long as I follow those 3 things. When we get people that say leave it, you know, okay, Jack and Coke here, Rod's favorite. I go to drink it, leave it. Leave it. Leave it. It's fucking fantastic. But because there was nothing to stop me really besides a verbal cue, which in the most part, we haven't trained anything. So remember, dogs don't speak English and they're dumb and they eat their own shit. So when we speak to them in English, thinking that they understand, especially in long sentence, like, you motherfucker, don't eat that goddamn steak. Don't you eat that steak. They don't fucking know what we're saying. But then we get some pet owners that leave it. Leave it. Leave it. Fucking drives me nuts.
Yeah. So it's all about, for you, it's all about the clarity of the behavior. What's the outcome like? Have you given the dog a really clear set of parameters? It'd be like clicking a clicker and then not being followed up by food. Eventually, the classically conditioned response will diminish.
100%. And so when I tell people we can devalue no, so I use no as, you know, positive punishment. So when I say no, you are going to be punished. And again, it follows those 3 I's of positive punishment: immediate, inescapable, and impressionable. If you do some dumb shit, so if I go and bang a tranny, no, fucking tranny, they're going to be like, oh, fuck, remember that last time I had that? No, I don't want that to happen again. No more banging tranny. So when we think about that, like, that's the best way to put it. Or you can have an e-collar or a leash correction or whatever it is if you're into that S&M shit. But, you know, yeah, fucking hate leave it.
No, I think the tranny way is probably the best way to put it to me. I think it's got the most universal. Yeah, exactly. And I just got one more, and sorry to the other ones that we didn't get to answer your questions, just because if we start answering all the questions, it'll just fucking never end. So CDN Jeffrey wants to know, do I click and then kick the place board or vice versa? And I knew this would be a fucking piss take.
Well, so Jeffrey there, very good dog handler, ran a general purpose dog in the police, and he was a dual purpose dog, cadaver. Actually was involved in one of the biggest murder investigations in Canadian history. Guy killed a bunch of people. Jeff went out there and used Riot to find bodies that were actually decomposing in planters that the guy had around his property. So he was cutting up. He was meeting.
Is this the pig guy?
No, different one. This guy was meeting gay men around Toronto and then killing them and doing stuff with them. And Jeff went out there and found a bunch of bodies, so good on him. He's got Riot Drone Dog Industries doing a lot of really cool stuff with cadaver stuff. You know, there's a plug for him. So one night, when I was training them, I would split my shifts. So essentially, when I was working, I would cover half the shift for the days, and then the night shift would come in, and everyone would have to deal with me because I'm a cocksucker. And so we're doing directional place boards. So just teaching the dogs hand signals so that when they're offline, they understand that this means go fucking left and this means go right. The dog wasn't quite getting the directional stuff. So sometimes, dogs fuck you at the drive-thru, and sometimes they're assholes. So the dog wasn't quite doing it, and you get upset with dogs because they're fucking dumb and they don't speak English. And someone may have kicked a place board at his own dog. It wasn't me. And so the worst part is, you ever had a trainer that like you're trying to do something so fucking simple and it's just not working, and then the trainer comes in and does it in like 2 seconds, and then you look at him, motherfucker. So we had one of those experiences that night, and there was a little bit of a place board kicking, and I'm like, maybe it's time for you to, like, I don't know, go have a coffee or something.
I thought you meant like it was you, but he was like, oh, his name was Mod Metrovic.
Buy some Viking K9 stuff.
Mate, I'm going to buy one of them fucking robes, I reckon. Hey, dude, so, let's knock it on the head there, bro. And sorry, like to all the other people who couldn't answer your questions, but it'll just keep going on. So, dude, thanks for being another epic guest, and for recording over Josh's episode with your episode.
Hey, man, really, thanks a lot for having me on. I really appreciate it. We got a lot of respect for the Australians, and in general, in the military, Australia and Canada are like that. We're fucking very, very close-knit, did a lot of shit together, trained with you guys a ton, operated with you guys a ton. Got nothing but respect for you and the guys over there, and really want to thank you for having me on. The stuff that you're doing with K9 and the gear that you're making, just fucking keep doing it, man, because you're doing an awesome job.
Thanks,
pushing
brother.
This stuff out, making the good stuff. And like me and you have talked on the side even before this podcast about our fucking e-collar stuff, and all of us are smarter than any one of us. So, I take shit from you, and if you ever need anything from me that, my little dumbass brain has learned through fucking alcohol and fucking, I don't know, fucking lady boys. No, man, you're doing an awesome job and representing well for your guys, and you're doing a great job, man. Just keep it up.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that, man.
I'm not going to suck your cock.
Not even if I dress like a lady.
Yeah, maybe.
Easy. All right, see you, Rod. Thanks for coming on, brother.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. Have a good one, eh?
You too.
We hope you enjoyed that episode of the Origin K9 podcast. Tune in next week for another episode. In the meantime, go to origink9.com, check out our safe, innovative and built-for-purpose K9 equipment.